I am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake it all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake it all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter, baby's got corrosion now, baby's got it.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is kind of weird. I don't have my headphones on today because, as always, even in technical terms, fuckery is afoot. So, but fortunately, I don't have any videos. Like, I'll need this to work tomorrow night for the videos for the secret show. But we're just reading today. We're not going to stress out over some bullshit. Good morning, everybody. We got Ghost Start over there on the Rumble. Miguel's over there too, hanging out, playing with the emojis. All's quiet on the Rockfin front, but I'm sure our lurkers are always good. Yeah, well, at least the mic works. Hey, that's kind of part of this whole gig. You kind of listening to the shit I gotta say. So I don't necessarily have to hear stuff. I've done this show enough to where I know where the audio cues are and stuff. So it's fine. Everything's good. Let's go to YouTube. We got Yonina here. What's up? You're in eviction quarantine. I hope it's not you. And if it is you, I hope everything goes well for you, dear. Cause fuck them landlords. We got Chuck's Intergalactic UFO show Intergalactic. He was on Willie Bragg's show on Wednesday. That was a great show. I really enjoyed that. A lot of the kids came out for that. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed to Chuck UFO show on the YouTubers there. I'm gonna be on for a while, you know. So I'll see you when I see you. If not, I'll see you Sunday for Political Matrix. I know you always up in there. Steve G, good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. We got Miguel H. Like I said, he's double dipping over on Rumble and Rockfin. He sends two digital masters. Max Zarjay. Hello, Max. Good to see you as well. And I'm sure we have some lurkers doing their lurker thing. There it is. That's weird. All right. Well, what's today? Friday. It was Friday, March 16th. 76 degrees here in Chicagoland area. It was a hot one yesterday. It was in the 80s, right? It was so much in the 80s. I kept hearing Aha all day. Oh, the things that you say. Sorry. I gotta say, we should take a poll. What is the most iconic 80s song? When you think of 80s, what is the first song you think of? We're not gonna do it now. We'll do it for the secret show or something. But I always think of Aha. That's whenever I think 80s. That's probably the first one, or maybe Tears for Fears, that kind of thing. Anyway, we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot to get to. A lot of more bad news. That's why you come here. We're always worried about nuclear war here at the show, and I'm sure around your neck of the woods too. We wish we could just get rid of all the nukes, don't you? I wish we could just like take all the nukes. If we're able to forget how to get to the moon like NASA did, maybe we could forget how to make nuclear weapons. I know that's pie in the sky, but let's get rid of them. But you know what the U.S. said? Nah, fam, fuck that. Let's double down. U.S. to spend $1 trillion on nuclear weapons over the next decade. This is Kyle Anselone over at the Libertarian Institute. Make sure you're following them for good independent journalism, folks. What's up, Wesley? Tainted, look at you, like Captain Random all over the place on Facebook. Where did you come from? What's up, buddy? Me and Wes go way back. We're two of the North Mississippi All-Stars. Good to see you. And Bella's here too. You realize, of course, that this means war. Dun dun dun. Yeah, so they tried that in Superman 3. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, but it backfired with the creation of a nuclear power. No, that was Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. That was Power Man, or whatever the fuck his name was. Anyway, let's get to this. According to the Congressional Budget Office, Washington will spend $1 trillion from 2025 to 2034 on modernizing and operating America's strategic arsenal. If carried out, Department of Defense's and Department of Education's plans to operate, sustain, and modernize current nuclear forces and purchase new forces would cost a total of $946 billion over the 2025-2034 period, or an average of about $95 billion a year, CBO estimates. The report says the spending includes $357 billion on operating nuclear weapons and delivery systems, $460 billion on modernization projects, and $130 billion in expected cost overruns. Those cost overruns. Yeah, right. $130 billion in cost overruns. Like that solves homelessness in America like 6 times. The CBO report notes that Pentagon plans often cost significantly more than projected, of course, because they've got to pay off their MIC buddies. This forecast in this year's CBO report is $93 billion higher than the estimate produced last year. Weapons programs frequently cost more than originally budgeted amounts for a variety of reasons, it continues. If nuclear force programs exceeded planned amounts at roughly the same rates that costs for similar programs have grown in the past, they would cost an additional $129 billion over the next decade, $33 billion more over 10 years than CBO estimated in 2023. Washington is in the process of a major nuclear weapons upgrade. The U.S. is developing a new bomber, an intercontinental ballistic missile, and a submarine capable of firing nuclear weapons. Wait, I thought we had submarines that could fire nuclear weapons. Don't we have those? What was the hunt for Red October, wasn't it? Oh, wait, that was Russia. Never mind. The U.S. nuclear buildup comes as Washington has walked away from several major arms control agreements with Russia since the end of the Cold War. Under George W. Bush, the U.S. withdrew from the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty, the ABM, and the INF, the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. Trump pulled the U.S. out of the INF and the Open Skies agreements during his first term. During his second term, Trump has denounced nuclear weapons and suggested he could engage in talks with Russia and China on agreement to reduce the global stockpile of nuclear arms. However, Trump forgot that he was Trump and made similar remarks during his first term, but never seriously engaged in arms control talks with Beijing or Moscow. The only remaining nuclear arms agreement between the U.S. and Russia and the New START Treaty is scheduled to lapse next year. And guess what? It's probably going to lapse. I'm just saying. So, we've been wondering about, look, you remember the what was it? The helicopter crash, the military helicopter crash. What was it back in, I can't remember when it was, a couple months ago. Well, there may be some reason for why we're seeing a lot of fucked up aircraft shit these days. So, DC Military Air Traffic Control Hotline hasn't worked for 3 years. Bum, 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 bum. A hotline between military and civilian air traffic controllers in Washington, D.C. that hasn't worked for more than 3 years may have contributed to another near miss. Shortly after the U.S. Army resumed flying helicopters in the area for the first time since January's deadly mid-air collision between a passenger jet and a Black Hawk helicopter, Ted Cruz said at a hearing Wednesday, the senator from Texas. The FAA, officially in charge of air traffic controllers, Frank McIntosh, confirmed the agency didn't even know the hotline hadn't been working since March 2022 until after the latest near miss. He said civilian controllers still have other means of communicating with their military counterparts through landlines. Still, the FAA insists the hotline be fixed before helicopter flights resume around Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. Defense Department officials didn't immediately respond to questions Wednesday about the near miss earlier this month and the steps it's taking to ensure helicopter flights in the area are safe. The FAA didn't immediately answer follow-up questions after the hearing about how that hotline was supposed to be used. The developments at DCA, that's Reagan Airport, in its airspace are extremely concerning, Cruz says. This committee remains laser-focused on monitoring a safe return to operations at DCA and making sure all users in the airspace are operating responsibly. The Army suspended all helicopter flights around Reagan Airport after the latest near miss, but McIntosh said the FAA was close to ordering the Army to stop flying because of the safety concerns before it did so voluntarily. We did have discussions if that was an option that we wanted to pursue, McIntosh told the Senate Commerce Committee at the hearing. January's crash between an American Airlines jet and an Army helicopter killed 67 people, making it the deadliest plane crash on U.S. soil since 2001. You know what that is. The National Transportation Safety Board has said there were an alarming 85 near misses around Reagan in the 3 years before the crash that should have prompted action. Since the crash, the FAA has tried to ensure that military helicopters never share the same airspace as planes. Duh! But controllers had to order 2 planes to abort their landings on May 1st because of an Army helicopter circling near the Pentagon. If you're going to fly these things, learn how to fucking fly them. Please and thank you. After the deadly crash near Reagan National Airport, FAA closed the helicopter route involved, but a lack of coordination between FAA and the Department of Defense has continued to put the flying public at risk, said Tammy Duckworth, senator from right here in Illinois. McIntosh said the helicopter should never have entered the airspace around Reagan Airport without permission from an air traffic controller. That did not occur, he said. My question, and I think the larger question, is why did that not occur? Without a compliance to our procedures and our policies, this is where safety drift starts to happen. CBC voter, what's going on with you? Good morning. Happy Fish Day. The NTSB is investigating what happened. In addition to that accident, a commercial flight taking off from Reagan Airport had to take evasive action after coming within a few hundred feet of 4 military jets heading to a flyover at Arlington National Cemetery. McIntosh blamed that incident on a miscommunication between FAA air traffic controllers at a regional facility and the tower at Reagan, which he said had been addressed. Yes, so what they did, they addressed it by taking the alcohol bar out of the air traffic controller space and said, no drinking on the job anymore, boys. You actually have to start doing some safe shit. I don't think they said that, but they should have. Meanwhile, another U.S. airline is facing backlash, but not for safety, but for being an accomplice to some evil shit. U.S. airline faces backlash as it begins deportation flights. So I don't know if you've ever flown Avelo Airlines, but if you do, you may end up in El Salvador. Just saying. Avelo Airlines, a Texas-based budget carrier, is facing backlash from both customers and employees over its decision to operate deportation flights under a new contract with the Trump administration. Avelo, which has been struggling financially, signed a contract with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security last month to transport migrants to detention centers inside and outside the U.S., according to an internal company memo reviewed by the Reuters news agency. On Monday, the airline flew its first flight under the deal from Arizona to Louisiana. Data from flight tracking services FlightAware and Flight Radar 24 showed. Avelo plans to dedicate 3 aircraft to deportation operations and has established a charter-only base in Mesa, Arizona, specifically for these flights, according to the company memo. The union representing Avelo's flight attendants called the contract bad for the airline, and one customer has helped organize a petition urging travelers to boycott the airline. Trump has launched a hardline crackdown on undocumented immigration, including the deportation of Venezuelan migrants he accuses of being gang members after photoshopping MS-13 on their fingers, to a maximum security prison in El Salvador. Immigration authorities also detained and moved to deport some legal permanent U.S. residents. Trump's policies have triggered a rash of lawsuits and protests. Tricia McLaughlin, Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs at DHS, said Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, baby, was deporting illegal aliens who broke the country's laws. She called the protests nothing more than a tired tactic to abolish ICE by proxy. I'd love to abolish ICE by proxy, or if you apply a little heat, the ice melts. Sometimes. Avelo Airlines is a subcarrier on a government contract to assist with deportation flights, McLaughlin said in a statement. Attacks and demonization of ICE and our partners is wrong. I don't know. Sounds pretty right to me. What's up, Kate? Good morning. I'm late because I was listening to CBC to hear some stories on Morning Edition. Oh, okay. That's cool. All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. ICE is back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly and throws me into an SUV. ICE, baby. Bella, you know what's up. The airline on Wednesday confirmed its long-term agreement with ICE and said it was vital to Avelo's financial stability. We're doing it for the money. I mean, we do things for money too. I don't think we deport people, but there's some things. It also shared a statement from CEO Andrew Levy, acknowledging that it is a sensitive and complicated topic, but saying that the decision on the contract came after significant deliberations. What they did is they fanned out some $100 bills and went, "Ooh, money! Come get this money! Come get this money! Come on! Come get this money! Come get it!" Yeah. So the statement added that the deal would keep the airline's more than 1,100 crew members employed for years to come. See, that's how they flip it. See. That's the same shit they say about health insurance. It's like if we give everybody universal health care, then all those insurance people will be out of jobs. What will happen to them? That's where the old phrase "tough titty said the kitty when the milk went dry." That's what I say. Who wants to work for a shitty Avelo anyway? Avelo said it will use 3 Boeing 737-800 planes in Mesa, Arizona. Yeah, Boeing. There's going to be some fucked up shit there. Flights will be both domestic and international, the company said, declining to share more details on the agreement. Avelo, which launched in 2021, was forced to suspend its most recent fundraising round after reporting its worst quarterly performance in 2 years. In a message to employees last month, Levy said the airline was spending more than it earned from its customers, forcing it to seek repeated infusions of capital from investors. I realize that's a hell of an investor, the United States government. I realize some may view the decision to fly for DHS as controversial. You think? Levy wrote in the staff memo, which was reviewed by Reuters, but said the opportunity was too valuable not to pursue. Man, they just threw money at me, dude. They were just like, they had one of those guns that shot the money at you. That's what happened. The Association of Flight Attendants, CWA, which represents Avelo's crew, has urged the company to reconsider its decision, which it said would be bad for the airline. Having an entire flight of people handcuffed and shackled would hinder any evacuation and risk injury or death, the union said. We cannot do our jobs in these conditions. The Trump administration has deported hundreds of migrants labeled as Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador. Photos and videos have shown deportees in handcuffs and shackles. Customers have also expressed outrage. Ann Watkins, a New Haven, Connecticut resident, said she has stopped flying with Avello. She and her co-members at the New Haven Immigrants Coalition have launched an online petition urging travelers to boycott the airline until it ends its ICE flight operations. The petition has garnered more than 38,000 signatures. Watkins said the coalition also organized a vigil on Monday to mark the launch of Avello's deportation flights. Companies can decide to operate in wholly ethical and transparent ways, she said. Avello is not choosing to do that right now. Connecticut Attorney General William Tong, a Democrat, has threatened to review the state's incentives for Avello, which has received more than $2 million in subsidies and tax breaks. In California, Los Angeles resident Nancy K., I wish she related to Special K, has co-founded a campaign called Mothers Against Avello. She plans to lead weekly protests every Sunday in May at Hollywood Burbank Airport, one of Avello's 6 operating bases. Avello. What is it? At least it's not Spirit. Well, Spirit's not toting people out of the country because Trump said so. Spirit's just killing you. It's just, they just kill you. They're just, doors open and there's chicken coops in the back, like it's that movie Romancing the Stone. So speaking of Trumpy's overseas talking to lots of, speaking of getting rained on with money, UAE says set to invest $1.4 trillion in U.S. over 10 years. This is Trumpy going, you're going to give me all that money. Give me. President of the United Arab Emirates yesterday said his country planned to invest $1.4 trillion in the United States over 10 years, lauding a strong partnership that flourished under President Donald Trump. Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed announced that the UAE's plan to invest $1.4 trillion in the U.S. over the next 10 years in fields including technology, artificial intelligence, and energy, speaking from the presidential palace in Abu Dhabi alongside Trump. MBZ also, that's what they call him, MBZ. Easy as 1, 2, 3. MBZ also said his country is keen on continuing to work with the U.S. to achieve peace and stability in the region. Trump visited the UAE's capital city on Thursday, that's yesterday, the last stop of a tour of Gulf states. MBZ also told Trump that the bilateral relationship had taken a significant leap forward since you took office. During their meeting, Trump told MBZ that the UAE president was a great warrior, adding that their relationship was so good it cannot get better. It's the best. This is like, it's never going to get any better than this. It's just going to be so good. Trump also received the Order of Zayed, the UAE's highest civilian distinction. All right, $1.4 trillion from those guys. Meanwhile, UAE is like spreading the wealth as Iran proposes partnership with UAE and Saudi Arabia to enrich uranium. What? Aren't they supposed to be having nuclear talks? What's all this about? Iran has floated the idea of a consortium of Middle Eastern countries, including Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, to enrich uranium in an effort to overcome U.S. objections to its continued enrichment program. The proposal is seen as a way of locking Gulf states into supporting Iran's position that it should be allowed to retain enrichment capabilities. Tehran views the proposal as a concession since it would be giving neighboring states access to its technological knowledge and making them stakeholders in the process. It's not clear if Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister, made the proposal in relatively brief 3-hour talks with the U.S. in Oman on Sunday, the fourth set of such talks, but the proposal is reportedly circulating in Tehran. After the talks, Araghchi flew to Dubai, where he spoke to the UAE's foreign minister, Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan. the UAE currently does not enrich uranium for its own nuclear program. The consortium would be based on Iranian facilities, with enrichment returned to the 3.67% levels set out in the original 2015 nuclear deal between Tehran and 6 world powers, which Donald Trump unilaterally ended in 2018. The U.S. has demanded that Iran ends enrichment and dismantles all its nuclear facilities, but amid divisions in Washington, Trump has not made a final decision on the issue and praised Iran's seriousness in the talks. They seem to be one of the few serious people in the world right now. Okay. The consortium idea was first proposed by former Iranian nuclear negotiator Sayed Hossein Mousavian and Princeton physicist Frank von Hippel long before the current Tehran-Washington talks, in a widely read October 2023 article in the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, which is a fun read. You should always read the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. They're some wild people. They talk about the parties they go to, and make Diddy look like a Boy Scout. Under the consortium, the Saudis and UAE would be shareholders and funders and would gain access to Iranian technology. The involvement of the Gulf states would be seen as an extra insurance that Iran's nuclear program was for entirely civil purposes and not the pathway to building a bomb, as Israel alleges, even though Israel themselves have a bomb. If the Saudis and UAE were permitted to send engineers to Iran, an extra form of visibility about the program would become possible, leaving the international community less reliant solely on the work of the UN nuclear inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency. Iran gradually moved away from the levels of enrichment and stockpile limits set out in the original 2015 deal, blaming Trump for leaving the nuclear deal. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Majid Takht Ravanchi said, "For a limited period of time, we can accept a series of restrictions on the level and volume of enrichment." The U.S. originally gave the impression that it needs an agreement with Iran within 2 months of the talks starting, but as the technicalities of any agreement become more complex, it's possible the talks will be allowed to drag on through the summer, which they probably will. Iran currently enriches uranium to 60% purity, far above the 3.67% limit set in the 2015 deal, and a short technical step from 90% needed for weapons-grade material. The U.S. Secretary of State, Aquaman, said these uranium enrichment levels are far higher than necessary for civilian use. In what may have been a reference to the Iranian proposal, Omani Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi referred to useful and original ideas reflecting a shared wish to reach an honorable agreement. The UAE operates a civil nuclear power plant named Baraka, located west of Abu Dhabi. It is the first nuclear power plant in the Arab world to be fully operational, with all 4 reactors now online, and should be capable of producing a quarter of the UAE's electricity needs. So they're trying to do a little end around there and say, hey, we're going to enrich uranium for everybody. Everybody gets, you get some enriched uranium. You get some enriched uranium. You get, yeah, it'll be interesting. If they haven't gone to war, if the United States hasn't gone to war with Iran already, they're not going to. Not until Trump's out and then some real psychopath gets in there. Pope Hamburglar. What? What's up, Willie? That's all right. No, you're on Willie time. That's fine. You're not late. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Good show the other day. If you got another one today, let us know. All right. So, we're going to shift over to Syria for a moment, as Human Rights Watch reveals Syrian security forces continue extorting and mistreating civilians, or as they would call it, Friday. Donald McDonald. Militants of the Turkish-backed Syrian National Army, that's SNA factions, which have become officially integrated into Syria's military and security apparatus, have continued to commit human rights abuses, particularly against Kurds, according to a Human Rights Watch report released on May 14th. HRW said the SNA factions continue to detain, mistreat, and extort civilians in northern Syria. These fighters are being integrated into Syria's armed forces, with their commanders appointed to key government and military positions, despite their past involvement in serious abuses, the report said, calling on the Syrian government to end and investigate ongoing abuses and exclude those with records of abuse from the Syrian security forces. Yeah, good luck with that. The report cites a local rights monitor, Syrians for Truth and Justice, STJ, which has recently documented mass arrests carried out by SNA factions operating under the Syrian military. Hundreds remain detained in SNA-run Turkish-supervised prisons, it said. It noted an attack from December in which the Suleiman Shah faction of the SNA captured a village in Aleppo, beating civilians, looting, and making arrests under the pretext of searching for weapons. I thought they got rid of Assad. Didn't they get rid of Assad? Wasn't that happening under him too? Man, Syria, man, the people there living in Syria just like getting their ass beat, I guess. This coffee gonna beat my ass later, if you know what I mean. At least 2 men who were attacked and detained during this incident remain in prison. HRW also cited previous reports of abductions, arbitrary arrests, unlawful detentions, including of children, sexual violence, and torture by the various factions of the SNA, the military police, a force established to curb such abuses, and members of the Turkish armed forces and Turkish intelligence agencies. Wow. The primary targets were Kurds and those linked to the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, which Turkey considers part of the Armed Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK, which announced its dissolution on May 12th. Turkey, which still oversees former SNA factions and continues to provide weapons, salaries, training, and logistical support to these factions, also bears responsibility for their abuses and potential war crimes, HRW went on to say. The SNA was formed by Ankara in 2017 and for years served as Turkey's proxy in northern Syria. The coalition, which was a key tool in Turkey's war against Kurdish militants, incorporated scores of ISIS fighters into its ranks after the fall of Raqqa in 2017. It also includes several other extremist organizations, including Jaish al-Islam and Ahrar al-Sham. Following the collapse of former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's government in December last year, the SNA groups were incorporated into the new Syrian military, which is dominated by HTS, the former al-Qaeda affiliate that toppled Assad and assumed control of Syria. These Turkish-backed groups, along with Syria's official security forces and those affiliated with them, played a part in the massacres of thousands of Alawite civilians on the Syrian coast in early March. Armed factions linked to the Syrian state have continued to target the Alawite minority sect and have been implicated in the disappearance of scores of young women. The HRW report came a day after Trump announced the lifting of sanctions on Syria, which we'll get to shortly. On Wednesday, Trump met with Ahmad al-Sharaa, the former leader of HTS, who is now Syria's interim president, calling him a young, attractive, tough guy. That's creepy. With a strong past after the meeting and saying he has a real shot at doing a good job. Wow. Trump is just everybody's drunk uncle, and you let him be president. Jesus Christ. Sharaa was previously known as Abu Muhammad al-Julani, but then Sony tried to rip off his music catalog, so he changed his name to a symbol just to fuck him over. Oh, wait, that was Prince. Never mind. He served as the deputy to ISIS chief Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi back when the group was known as the Islamic State of Iraq, ISI. In 2011, he was dispatched by Baghdadi to enter the war against Assad's government in Syria, where he took part in the launching of deadly suicide attacks against both security personnel and civilians before founding Nusra Front, al-Qaeda's official branch in Syria, in 2012. Yeah. So there you go. So Syria, what a mess, right? You've got Israel. They're fucking vulture picking at the carrion of the country, trying to take as much of it as they can, and then of course they have their own internal strifes as well. Not a good place to be. As we said, Trump lifted those sanctions, and U.S. Treasury is surprised and confused by Trump's order to lift those sanctions. There he is talking to him. You're a handsome man. Look at you. I like it. Look at that. Look at that beard. That's nice. I can't grow a beard. I look like a crackhead Santa. U.S. presidential president, whatever his name is, Trump recent announcement regarding the lifting of all sanctions on Syria took many by surprise, including his own officials at the State and Treasury Departments, according to a May 14th report by Reuters. In Washington, senior officials at the State Department and Treasury Department scrambled to understand how to cancel the sanctions, many of which have been in place for decades. Hey, Wesley, good to see you, man. Kink shaming Trump. A little bit, just a little bit. Good to see you, man. Good morning. Happy Friday to you. In Washington, senior officials at the State and Treasury Department scrambled to understand how to cancel the sanctions, many of which have been in place for decades. The White House has issued no memorandum or directive to State or Treasury sanctions officials to prepare for the unwinding and didn't alert them that the president's announcement was imminent. Several senior U.S. officials anonymously told the outlet. Officials were confused about exactly how the administration would unwind the layers of sanctions, which ones were being eased, and the White House wanted to begin when the White House wanted to begin the process. They added, stressing that officials were caught off guard. Well, you should be used to that if you work for Trump. Trump just does shit on he's just like, you know what, let's just outlaw ice cream. Ice cream is just bad, just gives you too many headaches. And wait, what the fuck we're going to... One official told Reuters that everyone is trying to figure out how to implement it. The report notes that despite the announcement, the actual process may take some time. During a speech at an investment forum in the Saudi capital, Riyadh, on May 13th, Trump announced that the U.S. will be lifting the crushing sanctions that have been imposed on Syria for 14 years. These sanctions took a heavy toll on regular citizens and contributed greatly to the severe economic crisis Syria faces today. The day after Trump's announcement, the president held a meeting with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Syria's interim president Ahmad al-Shara, the former al-Qaeda chief, heading the administration that was formed following the collapse of former President Bashar al-Assad's government last year. Trump reportedly called on Shara to normalize relations with Israel by joining the Abraham Accords and to expel Palestinian resistance factions from Syria. How are you going to do that? Like 80 to 90% of their defense capabilities, Israel fucked them up. Remember that, Trumpy? Your buddies? The U.S. had previously signaled to Syria that sanctions relief would be conditional on several factors, including ending the presence of Palestinian resistance groups who had been given refuge and freedom of operation in the country for decades under the former government. Syrian arrest campaigns and asset seizures have already targeted resistance leaders in Syria, including members of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the PIJ movement, and the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine General Command, the PGC. A lot of letters. Chairman of the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee and the U.S. Armed Services Committee, Congressman Corey Mills, said on April 24th that Shara informed him of Damascus's openness to normalizing relations with Israel. Since the ousting of Assad's government, Israel has waged a violent campaign of hundreds of airstrikes targeting the sites belonging to the former Syrian military. It has also expanded its illegal occupation in the country and taken over large swaths of southern Syria, because that's what Israel does. Leech. I will take it all. I will take it. I'm looking for the rootin' tootin' diamond. Sorry, I had to throw that one in. Meanwhile, things seem to be chilling out a little bit between India and Pakistan, both with nukes, just so you know. Islamabad says Pakistan and India agreed to ceasefire until Sunday, for a couple more days. For you like ice cream. Pakistan's foreign minister Ishaq Dar said the country's military had agreed to extend a ceasefire with India until Sunday during a phone call between the two armies on Thursday. He told Parliament that both sides had military-to-military communications on Wednesday and Thursday, and today we had a conversation, and it is a ceasefire until May 18th. That's all that story. That's all you get for that. So, you know, I don't know if you know, in case you don't know, the whole thing started, well, tensions have always been there between India and Pakistan, but this thing in Kashmir with the tourists, last month, the murder of these tourists, That's what's sparking this up again. So, man, you got all these countries fighting each other all over the world. Is there anybody at peace? That's what I want to know. Well, it sure as fuck ain't Israel, because Israeli strikes killed more than 100, probably more than 200 now, in Gaza. So at least 143 Palestinians were killed by Israeli attacks in Gaza yesterday, according to Al Jazeera, as the Israeli military has intensified its strikes on the besieged territory amid President Trump's visit to the region. At least 16 more have been killed early Friday morning Gaza time as Israel continued to ramp up attacks, suggesting the Israeli military has started the next phase of its genocidal war. Health officials told Al Jazeera that at least 61 were killed in a barrage of attacks on the southern city of Khan Yunis. Heavy Israeli strikes were also reported in Jabalia. I believe that's how you say it. I heard somebody else call it Jabalia. So maybe it is Jabalia. I don't think it's Jabalia. Northern Gaza for the second day, according to the Palestinian news agency Wafa, at least 15 Palestinians, including 11 children and one woman, were killed by the strikes on Jabalia. Photos and videos from the Gaza on Thursday show many children among the casualties. It's always children. It's always, look at this, it's always fucking children. Always. Wafa also reported that among those killed in Khan Yunis was a journalist named Ahmad al-Hilou. Based on a previous report from Wafa, al-Hilou's killing brings the total number of journalists killed by the IDF in Gaza to 2013. Yeah, 250 plus dead in 36 hours. Jesus Christ. Gaza's health ministry said yesterday that the European hospital in Khan Yunis was out of service due to a recent Israeli attack, which targeted the outside of the facility with bunker-busting bombs. A hospital. Yeah. The Israeli military claimed it targeted an underground Hamas command and control center, but provided no evidence, and an analysis from Sky News contradicted the claim. We'll get more to that in our propaganda watch a little bit later. The attack caused significant damage to the infrastructure, including sewage lines, damage to internal departments, and destruction of roads leading to the hospital, the health ministry wrote on Telegram. According to Al Jazeera, Israeli attacks on Thursday also targeted the Al-Auda hospital in Jabalia and the Indonesian hospital in Khan Yunis. The latest violence in Gaza comes as Israel continues to maintain a total blockade on the Strip, blocking all goods from entering, which has been imposed since March 2nd. The World Health Organization said Tuesday that 57 children have starved to death since the blockade was imposed. Self-defense, y'all. That's self-defense. Right there. Self-fucking... Jesus Christ. This world's going to shit. It's not already there. I was thinking about this the other day. We don't need to be going into space. Humans don't need to be leaving this planet. Look at what we're doing to this planet. You think we need to go out in space and colonize other planets and fuck them up too? Hell no. Fuck that. Israeli forces kill 5 Palestinians in West Bank as it escalates punitive measures. Look at this Hamas. Look at these Hamas. Motherfuckers, man. The Israeli army killed 5 Palestinians and closed several military barriers in the occupied West Bank yesterday. In the early morning, troops raided the town of Tamun, located south of Tubas, surrounding a house and killing 5 men inside after a firefight, according to local media. Several roads were closed following a shooting attack on Wednesday that killed 1 settler and seriously wounded another near Salfit. The closures coincided with settler attacks on main roads as well as assaults on Palestinian vehicles and property. In response to the shooting, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel "the Devil" Smotrich called for the destruction of the Palestinian villages of Brooklyn and Kafr al-Dik, located near Salfit in the northern West Bank. His comments drew comparisons to the destruction of areas in Gaza, including Shujaiya and Tel al-Sultan. The far-right minister wrote on the tweeters, "Just as we destroyed Rafah, Khan Yunis, and Gaza, we must destroy the terrorist nests in Judea and Samaria," using the Jewish term for the West Bank. Brooklyn and Kafr al-Dik should look like Shujaiya and Tel al-Sultan, he added. The mayor of Brooklyn, Faid Sabra, told Middle East Eye that the Israeli army stormed the town with hundreds of soldiers after the shooting attack, conducting raids on all homes. 50 soldiers also raided his house, and the officer in charge threatened that if the residents didn't hand over the gunmen, bulldozers and tanks would be brought in to destroy all the homes. The officer quoted Smotrich's tweet to me verbatim when he threatened to turn the town's life upside down. They broke into homes, vandalized them, and demolished the interior walls of one house, Sabra said. The town's 4 entrances have been completely sealed off since Wednesday evening, leaving many residents unable to return. Around 5,200 Palestinians are now trapped in the town with no clear indication of when the entrances will reopen. Meanwhile, calls have spread urging settlers to attack homes in retaliation for the shooting. We are constantly exposed to settler attacks. A few weeks ago, they smashed the windows of homes in the village and attempted to set them on fire. They also vandalized vehicles. Our town is surrounded by the settlements of Barkan and Ariel, which are the launch pads for ongoing attacks against us, the mayor added. The latest shooting attack is the 4th in the Salfit area in recent months, and the Israeli army has yet to locate the perpetrator, who it claims is the same individual responsible for previous attacks. Just like OJ looking for the killers. From Wednesday, Israel closed all barriers surrounding Ramallah, Nablus, and Salfit as a punitive measure, citing security concerns. Hundreds of vehicles were stuck at these checkpoints for hours, with their owners forced to spend the night inside them. Some educational institutions also announced closures due to the sudden restrictions. Israeli media reported a statement by far-right Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who demanded that Netanyahu permanently reinstate the barriers across the West Bank. According to the Palestinian Authority's Wall and Settlement Resistance Commission, that was my old job, more than 900 military checkpoints divide the West Bank, in addition to dozens of iron gates that the Israeli army closes at will. Following the shooting, settlers gathered at intersections between Ramallah and Nablus and began throwing stones at Palestinian vehicles. The settlers also called for renewed gatherings on Thursday to attack Palestinian property and storm nearby towns and villages, particularly those surrounding Nablus and Salfit. Journalist Mohammed Abu Thabit told Middle East Eye that settlers gathered near the Zatara checkpoint south of Nablus and attacked Palestinian vehicles with stones. Warnings are circulating among Palestinians not to use the main roads except in case of extreme necessity due to settler attacks and racist calls, Abu Thabit said. Settlers also gathered near the Eli settlement between Nablus and Ramallah and attacked other vehicles. The same occurred near the Shiloh settlement north of Ramallah, amid fears that the attacks could spread to entire villages under Israeli military protection. So not only do you have to worry about the IDF, you have to worry about the settlers. And, of course, the IDF and Israel protects the settlers. That's what they do. Why is this not working? Are you going to do that? Okay, that's going to work. All right. Yemen is still in the mix. Yemen's always in the mix. They're like sugar. They're always up in there. And so Yemeni forces target Israeli Ben Gurion airport with hypersonic missile. Now letting up. Spokesperson for the Yemeni Armed Forces has announced a missile attack on Ben Gurion International Airport in the occupied territories in response to the Israeli regime's ongoing atrocities in Gaza. Brigadier General Yahya Saree, spokesperson for Yemen's military, stated last night that Yemeni missile units targeted Ben Gurion Airport, located 12 miles to the southeast of Tel Aviv, with a homegrown hypersonic ballistic missile. They say homegrown because they've been accused of buying these weapons from Iran. They're like, no, bitch, we make our own, motherfucker. Saree noted that the retaliatory strike attained its desired objective successfully, sending hundreds of thousands of illegal settlers into shelters. He emphasized that Yemeni armed forces, together with the country's freedom-loving nation, consider it a religious, moral, and humanitarian responsibility to demonstrate solidarity with Gazans in light of unfolding developments in the region, the daily massacre of ordinary people there, the weeks-long aid blockade, and the inaction of Muslim states. The senior Yemeni military official stated the country will continue to beef up and expand their military operations until the bloody aggression against Yemen stops, and the crippling siege on Palestinians in the coastal sliver is completely lifted. Yemeni armed forces, for that sake, will impose a complete aerial blockade on Ben Gurion International Airport and will continue to prevent Israeli-linked ships from navigating in the Red and Arabian Seas, Asuri pointed out. As the genocidal war on Gaza escalated, the Yemenis enacted a strategic blockade on essential maritime routes to obstruct the delivery of military supplies to Israel and urge the international community to take action regarding the ongoing humanitarian emergency in Gaza. Yemeni armed forces have declared they will continue their assaults until Israel ceases its ground and aerial offenses in Gaza. So they'll probably just keep doing it because Israel isn't going to stop. Yeah. And the U.S. isn't going to stop Israel either. I'm sure that's shocking news to you. Report Witkoff told mediators that the U.S. won't force Israel to end Gaza slaughter. U.S. Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff has told Arab mediators that the U.S. will not force Israel to end its genocidal war in the Gaza Strip, according to a report from the Times of Israel. The report, which cited Arab officials, said Israeli Prime Minister Fuckhead McGee was staunchly refusing to end military operations in Gaza, a position he has made clear in public comments as the Israeli military is preparing a major escalation. We, in the coming days, will be entering with all our strength to complete this process to subdue Hamas. Yeah, Hamas. Netanyahu said on Tuesday, it could be that Hamas will say, pause, we want to release another 10 hostages. Okay, release them. We will receive them, and after that, enter. But there will not be a situation where we stop the war. The Times report also cited a source who was present at a meeting Witkoff held with the family members of Israeli captives held in Gaza last week. The source said that Witkoff largely agreed with the position of Arab mediators that Israel's plan to escalate will not be effective. At another meeting with hostage families this week, Witkoff was pressed on why the U.S. didn't force Israel to stop. We're not the Israeli government. We don't disagree. The Israeli government is a sovereign government. They can't tell us what to do. They can't tell us. They can't tell us what to do. Who is this person? Who's saying this? Who the fuck said this? Witkoff said, okay, they can't tell us what to do, and we can't tell them what to do, Witkoff said, according to a recording of the meeting obtained by Haaretz. And then another person tapped him on the shoulder and said, you are just so precious. Israel's military operations in Gaza are entirely reliant on U.S. military aid, meaning the U.S. has the ability to pressure Netanyahu to end the slaughter and allow humanitarian aid to enter Gaza, which has been under a total Israeli blockade since March 2nd. According to the Times report, Witkoff is now proposing a deal for a weeks-long ceasefire that would release a few captives. Hamas's position is that it's willing to free all the hostages at once in exchange for a permanent ceasefire. Witkoff has insisted that during the week-long truce, the U.S. would ensure Israel entered talks on a lasting deal, but Hamas is unlikely to agree to an agreement without an upfront commitment to a permanent truce. Wait a minute, the U.S. would ensure Israel entered talks? Well, I thought they didn't control them, so how would they ensure that? Israel was supposed to enter the talks on a permanent ceasefire under the deal that was signed in January, but it refused to do so because they remembered they were fucking Israel and that they were pieces of shit. Speaking of pieces of shit, let's go over, hey, Miss Tree, good to see you. Hi. Good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are. The UK says, we want to be shitty too. Approved UK arms exports to Israel skyrocketed under Labour. Data shows. That's the UK version of the Democrats, by the way. The UK government approved 169 million worth of military equipment to Israel in the 3 months that followed the Labour government's partial suspension of arms exports over concerns they could be used unlawfully in Gaza. Export data released yesterday shows that 20 different licenses in categories such as military aircraft, radars, targeting equipment, and explosive devices were approved between October and December of last year. Arms campaigners say the 3-month total is more than what was approved altogether under the Tory government between 2020 and 2023 and said the increase was truly shocking. This is the Labour government aiding and abetting Israel's genocide in Gaza, said Emily Apple, media coordinator for UK-based Campaign Against Arms Trade. It's sickening that instead of imposing a full two-way arms embargo, Keir Starmer's government has massively increased the amount of military equipment the UK is sending to Israel. Poop donkers. I don't even know what that means. Anonymous. Good to see you. Good to see you. We are shitty. Bum, 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 bum. The release figures also show 15 export licenses for military goods to Israel, which were refused during the same period. It's not clear how much these licenses would have been worth. They include licenses for items in many of the same categories as those that were approved, as well as those covering land vehicles and naval vessels. A spokesperson for the Department of Business and Trade, the DBT, which is kind of like debit, I guess, said the data shows we have continued to refuse all licenses for military goods that could be used by Israel in the current conflict. The majority of military licenses by value approved in 2024 is made up of components for items being produced in Israel for third countries, including our NATO allies, and we continue to assess all license applications on a case-by-case basis against our strict criteria. Middle East Eye also asked DBT and the Foreign Office whether either department had been given assurances that the approved military items would not be used in Gaza or the occupied Palestinian territories, but did not receive answers to this question. Martin Butcher, policy advisor on arms and conflict for Oxfam, said the scale of arms trading with Israel shown by the figures at the end of 2024, quote, is terrible. Oxfam believes that while Israel continues to commit war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza, and while the illegal occupation continues, the UK should not sell arms to Israel, he told Middle East Eye. Assisting Israeli industry to build its own sales, the profits from which are used to fuel attacks on Gaza should also cease immediately. The release data comes as the legal challenge to the UK's arms export to Israel, brought by rights groups Al-Haq and the Global Legal Action Network, enters its final day at the High Court today. The case is focused on whether the government has broken the law by continuing to supply F-35 fighter jet parts to a global supply pool, meaning they could eventually end up in Israeli jets and be used to attack Palestinians in Gaza. The government has argued that it could not unilaterally suspend the components from being sent to the 19-nation program's supply chain without disrupting the global fleet of F-35s and threatening global peace and security. Wow, that's threatening global peace and security. The groups contend that by doing this, the UK has breached its obligations to both domestic and international law and has threatened to undermine the rule of law. The public hearing is expected to conclude today, with the case then moving to closed sessions in which security-cleared special advocates will represent the groups. A ruling is anticipated in the next few weeks. Look at him. I bloody sent all them weapons over there, governor. Oh, tea and crumpets, fucking. And she's just like, you motherfucker. I always like the side characters in these, there's him. And then she's like, are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, UK, for all our UK folks in the audience that are watching, we know you're shitty too, just as not as shitty as us, but you're getting there. So Israel has the balls to want to mean test aid to the Palestinians. Israel to use facial recognition tech to screen Palestinians in need of aid. The Israeli cabinet has approved a plan imposing new restrictions on the distribution of humanitarian aid and food supplies in Gaza, including mandatory facial recognition. Palestinians would be coming to these places registered and screened through facial recognition technology. They'd pick up parcels for their family, said NPR journalist Daniel Estrin. They'd also have a copy on DVD of the movie 1984 in case they didn't have time to read the book. But that does apply here. Israel says the plan aims to prevent Hamas from accessing humanitarian aid. Yet Estrin cited an Israeli official as saying that it's actually part of a bigger strategy to get Palestinian civilians to move en masse to a smaller, more consolidated area of Gaza so that the military can expand the territory that it's taking over in Gaza. The New York Times had reported in March that Israel has already deployed facial recognition programs in Gaza using technology from private Israeli company Coresight, as well as Google Photos. At times, the technology wrongly flagged civilians as wanted Hamas militants. I thought they flagged everybody as wanted Hamas militants. It cited an anonymous Israeli intelligence officer as saying, the program initially used to search for Israeli captives held by the resistance was transformed into a mass surveillance initiative, according to the report. Kind of like 9/11. Remember 9/11? It was for your safety. It's for your safety. Now there's cameras fucking everywhere. It ain't for your safety. Who is it? I think it was on the Y-Files. He said, it's not for your safety. It's for their safety. The UN has condemned the Israeli plan to make aid conditional on facial recognition. UNICEF spokesman James Elder said it contravenes basic humanitarian principles and is designed to reinforce control over life-sustaining items as a pressure tactic. Tel Aviv has recently approved plans to further expand its genocidal assault on Gaza since renewing its war in March. It has seized at least 50% of the Strip's territory and has vowed to seize more. This has coincided with the continuation of a total Israeli blockade, which has seen the humanitarian situation in the Strip deteriorate rapidly. The UN has warned of a looming famine across the entirety of the Strip. Looming? It's already there, dude. Yesterday, Trumpy renewed his calls for Washington to assume control over Gaza. Speaking from Qatar, I don't know how to, is it Qatar or Qatar? I think I've heard Qatar. I'm going to start calling it Qatar. Like, welcome back, Qatar. Trump said he would support direct U.S. involvement in Gaza, suggesting that the U.S. take the besieged territory and transform it into what he called a freedom zone. Oh, freedom zone. That's like First Amendment zones that Bush established outside of the Republican convention. Was it First Amendment zones or some free speech zones, which were nowhere near where the thing was being held. I have concepts for Gaza. I'd be proud to have the U.S. take it, make it a freedom zone, Trump said. Medical sources told Al Jazeera on May 15th that at least 103 Palestinians have been killed. That's over 200 now by Israeli airstrikes on Gaza since dawn. Social media has been flooded with videos and images of injured, including children arriving in hospitals. Early on Thursday, Palestinian journalist Hassan Samour was killed in a strike on his home, making him the 216th journalist to be killed. I think it's 217 now. To be killed by Israel since the start of the war, according to Gaza's government media office. Well-known Palestinian journalist Hassan Asli was killed just 2 days earlier in a strike at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, where he was recovering from wounds sustained during an Israeli attack on a media tent last month. The health ministry in Gaza announced on Thursday that the European hospital in Khan Yunis is now completely out of service after the massive attacks carried out recently by the Israeli Air Force. Specialized services including neurosurgery, chest surgery, cardiology, and ophthalmology have been suspended, the ministry said, adding that the hospital's closure has also cut off cancer patients from accessing life-saving treatment protocols. Israel launched a series of powerful strikes in the vicinity of the European hospital on May 13th, killing at least 28 people. Israeli media said dozens of bunker-buster munitions were used to successfully destroy an underground complex belonging to the Palestinian resistance, and that Mohammed Sinwar, brother of late Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar, was assassinated in the attack. His killing has yet to be confirmed. So, facial recognition, that as a way of means testing it. But I think the guy said it best. He said, "Nah, we're not really doing it for that. We're just trying to get people herded into this one spot to the point where they feel just so oppressed that they want to just leave." And I think that's the goal. They just want to get rid of them in one form or another. Meanwhile, the UN rejects U.S. and Israeli-backed aid plan for Gaza. The UN yesterday rejected the plan, which had been condemned as a transparent effort to use aid to force Palestinians into a tiny area of southern Gaza. That's what we were just talking about. This particular distribution plan does not accord with our basic principles, including those of impartiality, neutrality, independence, and we will not be participating in this, Deputy UN spokesman Farhan Haq told reporters. Haq's comments come a day after a new U.S.-backed organization, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, announced that it would begin distributing aid in Gaza by the end of May and said that it had Israeli permission. UN agencies and other aid organizations say they have thousands of trucks ready to enter Gaza to bring relief to the starving Palestinian population, but the U.S. and Israel have devised the new scheme for aid over allegations that Hamas has diverted previous shipments, which the Palestinian group has denied. The GHF plan would help facilitate Israel's goals for its planned escalations in Gaza, which include the goal of concentrating in a camp, the entire civilian population south of Morag Corridor, a strip of land that separates the southern Gaza cities of Rafah and Khan Yunis. According to Israeli media, the plan is to establish 4 aid distribution sites south of the Morag Corridor, meaning Palestinians would be forced to travel to the area or starve. BBC reported on Thursday that an additional aid distribution site might be established near the Netzarim corridor, which separates northern Gaza from the rest of the strip. According to Axios, the GHF has asked Israel to identify areas for aid distribution sites in northern Gaza within 30 days. By that time, many Palestinians in northern Gaza could starve to death, as experts are warning a mass famine is imminent if the situation doesn't change. The GHF plan would involve private U.S. security contractors, oh boy, that always goes well, providing security for the aid distribution centers. The initial plan, which was unveiled by U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee, Hucky, would only feed 1.1 million people, or 60% of the populations. I'm not wearing my headphones, Steve G. That's why my head looks bigger, but thanks for pointing that out. Secretary of State Aquaman said that he was concerned about the humanitarian situation in Gaza and said the U.S. was open to alternatives to the GHF plan. I hear criticisms of that plan. We're open to an alternative if someone has a better one, he said. We are for all the aid that we can get without Hamas being able to steal it from people. What a fucking moron. According to Axios reporter Barak Ravid, Rubio expressed concern about the humanitarian situation in a call with Israeli Prime Minister. I'm a piece of shit. But the comment was absent from the State Department's readout of the call. Just stay the fuck out of it, U.S. You know how you can help, U.S.? You want to be little helpers for Palestine? Stop arming Israel. Put a leash on that dog. You can do it. You have a money leash. We'll see. I don't think they'll do it, though. I did get a haircut, too. That was a couple weeks ago, but thanks for noticing. Well, so yesterday, I believe, was the anniversary of the Nakba in Israel, and 77 years ago. Israel's genocidal war on Gaza, even worse today than the expulsions of 1948. As Palestinians mark the 77th anniversary of the Nakba, or the catastrophe, as the Arabs call it, of 1948, those enduring Israel's genocidal war in Gaza say what is happening today exceeds the horrors of the mass expulsions which accompanied the founding of the Israeli state in 1948. Descendants of Nakba refugees in Gaza have long kept hold of the keys of their grandparents' homes passed down the generations. They have also suffered life in impoverished refugee camps and endured the punishing blockade imposed by Israel since 2007, as well as multiple assaults by Israel. Today, however, the brutal war unleashed by Israel on the Strip has seen mass forced displacement once again inflicted on the Palestinians of Gaza. This time, however, they say the situation is even worse. Nafuz Mahmoud Naji describes the current situation in Gaza as even harsher than what they lived through, in reference to her grandparents and parents who experienced the 1948 Nakba. The war didn't last this long. We've been in this situation for 19 months. We experienced death and killing constantly. Living in tents is suffering from start to finish. We have to search for drinking water and food. Sometimes the charity kitchens are closed. We never feel full, and there is no flour. Naji's family were expelled from Sawafir village in 1948, and she remembers her grandfather telling her stories about the day Zionist militias attacked. They were expelled and couldn't take their money, clothes, or valuables like gold. They thought it would be temporary, just like we thought for the past 19 months, she said. She has lost her husband and 2 of her sons as a result of the current war, and a 3rd son was killed in 2006. Haja Sarah Mutlaq Abu Obaida was 8 during the Nakba. I was displaced from the town of Hamama. That day I fled with my mother, father, and siblings. We were running from death. I was very young. I may not remember many details, but I'll never forget the night we slept under a tree to hide from the Zionist militias after night fell. We stayed there until morning and then carried on walking until we reached Gaza. With the start of the current war, Abu Obaida relived the pain once again. She says, the occupation bombed our neighbor's house. I was injured and taken to the hospital. After that, she and her family went to a shelter near Al-Shifa Hospital, but were forced to flee again when it was attacked. She remembers walking until exhaustion overcame her, and says her slow, heavy steps during this displacement reminded her of the contrast with the little girl she once was, running behind her parents during the Nakba. After being given a wheelchair by a man who took pity on her, her grandchild pushed her to the rest of the way to the southern border near Egypt. There she lives in a tent similar to the one she lived in after arriving in Gaza during the Nakba, she said, adding that the tent stands as a witness of a lifetime of displacement. Even though she's grown old, she says, her heart still aches for Hamama and burns against the oppressor. Yeah. 77 years of hell for these people. And U.S. is funding it, y'all. The U.S. is funding it. So whenever you hear anybody talking about, we've got to defeat Hamas, just tell them to shut the fuck up, because that's going to be the dumbest thing they're going to say all day. Some good news for Colombia and probably China too, as Colombia is joining China's Belt and Road Initiative. You know, instead of bombing people, they build bridges and shit. Wait, what? All right, we're back. Colombian President Gustavo Petro officially joined China's mega infrastructure Belt and Road Initiative on May 14th during the 4th China CELAC Forum in Beijing. During the signing ceremony, Chinese President Xi Jinping vowed to deepen ties with Colombia, while Petro welcomed stronger relations with a multipolar world. We have entered the Belt and Road. In the short term, I aim to eliminate the trade deficit with China, which currently stands at $14 billion annually. In the medium term, I seek to ensure that Colombia and Latin America can not only build interoceanic infrastructure, but also become a hub for submarine fiber optics from China and Europe, thus becoming a central hub for artificial intelligence, Petro said via social media. Oh boy. Development and revitalization are our inherent rights, and equity and justice are our common aspiration in the face of geopolitical turbulence and confrontation, Xi said on Tuesday during the opening of the forum in Beijing, emphasizing joint work to practice true multilateralism, safeguard international equity and justice, and promote reform of the global governance system to foster multipolarity. There we go. The Chinese president noted that in 2024, trade volume between the Asian giant and Latin America exceeded $500 billion for the first time. He also announced that his country will provide $9 billion in loans to the region and strengthen cooperation in security and law enforcement. China supports the nations in the region in defending their national sovereignty and independence, Xi stressed. As of May 14th, 21 Latin American nations have joined the what is it? The Belt and Road Initiative. Is that what it was? How did I forget that? It was just like 2 minutes ago. The BRI is what it's called. Panama signed in 2017, but exited earlier this year due to intense pressure from Washington. Pussies. Colombian Foreign Minister Laura Sarabia described the deal signed on Wednesday as the most important step forward in the history of Colombia's relations with the Asian continent. The BRI, launched by China in 2013, is a vast transcontinental project aimed at enhancing global collaboration in areas such as infrastructure, science, trade, energy, technology, and connectivity. Over 140 nations across Asia, Europe, Africa, and Latin America are already involved. Colombia's entry into the BRI arrives as Bogota aims to enhance its standing against the universal 10% tariff that the U.S. has placed on the majority of imported goods. Yes. So Colombia, part of that. That's the thing. I mean, no country's perfect. Like, of course, Russia and China, they have their evildoers, as it were, but they're just not showing it as well as the United States and most of the West are right now. They're just like full on just Nazi mode. The West is now. All this fascism. So finally, Russia and Ukraine are starting to talk peace, kind of. Russia and Ukraine start peace talks in Turkey. Ooh, look at that. That's a nice little setup there. Delegations from Russia and Ukraine have started their first direct peace talks since April 2022. The meeting in Istanbul, not Constantinople, follows a renewed offer from Russian President Vladimir Putin to resume dialogue and international calls for a diplomatic resolution to the ongoing conflict. RT has broadcast footage of the Russian, Ukrainian, and Turkish delegations at the negotiation table. During his introduction, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said the talks could shape a future meeting between the leaders of Russia and Ukraine. Turkey is pleased to host the delegations, he said, and described the negotiations as a window of opportunity. Fidan stressed that it is up to Moscow and Kiev to decide whether to pursue peace or continue a destructive conflict. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia's negotiating team in Istanbul remains in regular contact with Moscow, adding that Putin is being kept fully informed in real time. As the talks were planned to take place today, the Kremlin delegation has been waiting for its counterpart to arrive for the whole day. Vladimir Zelensky named his delegation later in the evening. It's expected to consist of 12 delegates and be led by Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. On Sunday, Putin stated that only negotiations could lead to some kind of new truce and new ceasefire. We are set on serious negotiations with Ukraine. Their aim is to eliminate the root causes of the conflict and to achieve a long-term lasting peace for a historical perspective, the Russian leader said. The offer met a mixed reaction from Kiev and its backers, who continue to insist that any negotiation must be preceded by the establishment of at least a 30-day truce. However, Putin's proposal was backed by Trumpy, who urged Kiev to immediately accept it. Following Trump's comments, Kiev seemingly shifted its position, and Ukrainian leader Volodymyr proclaimed his readiness to participate in the meeting while reiterating the truce demand. Kiev had earlier stated that the only official from Moscow that Zelensky would talk to is Putin. However, the Russian president has made no indication he is planning to travel to Turkey. Late on Wednesday, Putin named Russia's delegation for the proposed talks. The team is being led by presidential aide Vladimir Medinsky, who headed Moscow's side during negotiations with Kiev in 2022. The delegation also includes Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Galuzin, Deputy Defense Minister Alexander Fomin, and the head of Russia's military intelligence, Igor Kostyukov. Of course, your military intelligence person has to be named Igor and Kostyukov. That guy. In addition to the negotiators themselves, Putin unveiled a team of experts who will also participate. It's composed of several senior military and civilian officials, as well as diplomats. We are ready for a discussion and resumption of the Istanbul talks. We are ready for possible compromises, Medinsky told journalists in Istanbul, not Constantinople, while still waiting for the talks to commence. We're in a working mood, the presidential aide added, noting that the delegation includes senior officials from all the relevant government agencies. Speaking at a press conference on Monday, Trump described the upcoming Russia-Ukraine talks as very important. We got to make sure that happens. We got to stop it. We got to stop these fuckers. These fuckers. Wait, what? Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. Speaking of Ukraine, looks like a Ukrainian was involved in the arson at Prime Minister Keir Starmer's joint. Ukrainian charged with arson at properties linked to UK PM Starmer. Stephanie, what's up, Stephanie? Good morning. Booyah. Roman Lavrinovich was arrested on Tuesday in connection with fires across North London, including homes where Starmer lived before becoming PM. A Ukrainian citizen arrested on suspicion of having caused fires at properties linked to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer was charged with arson yesterday, according to British police, to Bobby's. He was arrested on Tuesday in connection with a spate of fires across North London, including the home of the Kentish Town area where Starmer lived with his family before becoming prime minister. The Ukrainian has been charged with 3 counts of arson with intent to endanger life, a statement from London's Metropolitan Police said. Kill your egregories. Hello, good morning to you. Those related to a car fire on May 8th in Kentish Town, ablaze on Sunday in front of the entrance of a property in the nearby Islington neighborhood, and the fire at Starmer's home in the night from Sunday to Monday, the prosecutor's office said in a separate statement. Starmer is still the owner of the Kentish townhouse where he lived until he moved into the Prime Minister's official residence at 10 Downing Street in July 2024, according to the British press. The British media have also drawn links between Starmer and the Islington property, a house converted into flats. Due to the property having previous connections with a high-profile public figure, officers from the Met's Counter-Terrorism Command have led the investigation into the fires, the police statement said. Lavrinovich is set to appear today before London's Westminster Magistrates Court. Wait a minute, Westminster? They're going to be judged by dogs? That's usually dogs are judged at Westminster. Now the dogs are going to do it. Starmer's spokesperson on Monday said the Prime Minister had thanked the emergency services for their intervention. And thanks for not letting me burn to death, is basically what it is. Finally, down in Sudan, paramilitary's drone attacks cut power in the capital. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Can we do this? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Yeah, where we go. Woo! Big words. Sudan's capital, Khartoum, and the surrounding state were still without electricity last night. I know it sounds like I'm saying cartoon, but I'm saying Khartoum. So, and I'm probably mispronouncing that too. The attack comes just weeks after the army celebrated the recapture of the city. Experts say the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, appears to have opened up a new phase in Sudan's civil war, which has entered its 3rd year. It switched from tactics from ground assaults to long-distance drone attacks on power stations, dams, and other infrastructure in army-held territory. On Wednesday, the RSF attacked 3 power stations in the city of Omdurman across the Nile from Khartoum. It has also repeatedly hit the wartime capital of Port Sudan, which until now has been seen as a safe haven for government officials, diplomats, and humanitarian organizations. RSF strikes on electricity infrastructure have plunged large areas of the country into extended blackouts. They have also hit water supplies. The war has devastated Sudan, pushing more than 13 million people out of their homes and spreading famine and disease. Tens of thousands of Sudanese have died in the fighting. The war between the army and the RSF was triggered by a dispute over a transition to civilian rule. Yeah. So, fuckery and all kinds of violence everywhere in the world. That's what worries me the most, is the fact that all these countries are but it's more It's more like these wars are coagulating, becoming more, I don't know, like part of a bigger, like threads in a bigger fabric, if that makes any sense. I believe that's the end of the news block, brought to you by Your Mom and Nim. Your Mom and Nim. That's where I go for all my sexual needs. So I didn't think this was going to happen, but apparently this was the plan all along. Apparently, if you want to shut up people at the ICC and you don't want them talking bad about your genocidal buddies, just sanction them. That'll shut them the fuck up.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Trump sanctions on ICC prosecutor hamper investigations. That was the goal. Yikes. Sorry. Kareem Khan. That's a bad looking dude. The ICC chief prosecutor, Kareem Khan, has faced several severe obstacles since the Trump administration imposed sanctions against him in February. These sanctions have disrupted the court's work, freezing Khan's bank accounts, cutting off his email access, and warning American ICC staffers of potential arrest if they travel to the U.S. The move has raised serious concerns about the future of the ICC and its ability to conduct war crimes investigations. The sanctions followed a November decision by the ICC to issue arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Security Minister Yoav Gallant. The warrants accused them of war crimes linked to the actions in the Israeli occupation's assault on the Gaza Strip. In retaliation, the Trump administration sanctioned Khan and barred him and other non-Americans among the ICC staff from entering the U.S., threatening fines and imprisonment for anyone providing financial or technological support to the prosecutor. These sanctions have severely hampered the ICC's ability to operate. Moreover, Khan's email with Microsoft was canceled. He still had a Microsoft. I still have a Yahoo account. I think it's old too, forcing him to switch to a Swiss provider, and his UK bank accounts have been blocked. On that note, American ICC staffers risk arrest if they return to the U.S., leading to resignations and a shrinking workforce. Non-governmental organizations, NGOs as they're known, and contractors fearing U.S. reprisals have also curtailed operations, which has impeded evidence gathering and witness support crucial for investigations. The sanctions' impact extends beyond the investigation into Israeli officials, stalling the ICC's probe into atrocities in Sudan, including genocide charges against the former President Omar al-Bashir, amid escalating violence and complicating inquiries into alleged crimes in the Palestinian territories. These disruptions threaten victims' access to justice and undermine the court's mandate to hold perpetrators accountable. The Trump administration justified the sanctions by accusing the ICC of illegitimate actions targeting the U.S. and its ally, the Israeli regime. Additionally, Washington denies the court's jurisdiction over Israel and claims the ICC's investigations endanger U.S. personnel and national security. There it is. Got to throw national security in there. I mean, there should be a law where you have to specifically define what national security really is. And go with that. You had a Hotmail account, but it melted. Ba-dum-ps. You still have your Yahoo account? I do. I have Yahoo. I haven't used it in forever. I use it as my junk thing now. Although I do have a saved email from my dad before he passed away. That was very nice, and I've always kept that. So, Israeli leaders, including Netanyahu, have dismissed the charges as unfounded. Even though camera phones prove otherwise, with Israel's Knesset considering legislation to criminalize cooperation with the ICC. Yeah. Meanwhile, ICC officials condemn the sanctions as serious attacks on international law and the court's independence. Several lawsuits filed by U.S. court staff and consultants challenge the sanctions, arguing they violate freedom of expression and obstruct justice. On that note, a recent temporary court order provided partial relief to ICC prosecutor Eric Iverson, permitting limited legal functions while legal battles continue in the U.S. courts. However, uncertainty persists for other American ICC personnel, while the court also faces reluctance from member states to enforce warrants and increasing international challenges, including allegations against Khan unrelated to the sanctions. Petty shit to help their buddy. But now that him and Bibi are on the outs, maybe he'll drop that. I doubt it. Bad shit always seems to stay, but good shit they always seem to get rid of for some reason. It took a while, but now scholars are finally calling the genocide in Israel a checks note genocide. Only a tiny number says even once reluctant, scholars now agree on Israel's Gaza assault. It's genocide. I mean, it's pretty hard to deny unless you're either in on it or you're just stupid. Only a tiny number of progressive Democratic lawmakers in the U.S. have used the word genocide to describe Israel's relentless bombardment of Gaza, and the U.S. public divided, with less than 40% of Americans saying last year that the term described the Israeli Defense Forces bombing of hospitals, schools, refugee camps, and other civilian infrastructure. But for 7 leading international experts on genocide, the question is not controversial, even for those who previously rejected the label. The 7 experts were interviewed Wednesday by NRC, a newspaper in the Netherlands, and were unequivocal. Not only have they all come to believe, some earlier than others, that Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza, but the vast majority of their peers in academia concur. Can I name someone whose work I respect who doesn't consider it genocide, says Raz Siegel, an Israeli genocide researcher at Stockton University in New Jersey? No. Ugur Umit Ungur. Ooh, that's a lot of letters with shit on top of it. A professor at the University of Amsterdam and the NIOD Institute for War, Holocaust, and Genocide Studies added, I don't know them. The interview was published the day before Nakba Day, the 77th anniversary of the Palestinians' forced expulsion from their lands when Israel was established, and as the death toll in Gaza reached 53,000. The official report, that is, at least 15,000 of those killed have been children, NRC reported. When it comes to defining the last 19 months in Gaza as a genocide, reported the newspaper, even cautious voices have changed. Israeli scholar Shmuel Liederman of Open University of Israel opposed the genocide label until Prime Minister Netanyahu's government flouted the ICJ's January 2024 order to prevent genocide by allowing emergency aid into Gaza and halting top officials' incendiary language on Palestinians. Israeli leaders have called Palestinians human animals and Amalek, an ancient enemy in the Hebrew Bible who Israelites were commanded to exterminate. Liederman also began to see his government as genocidal after the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, seized control of the Rafah crossing last year, cutting off the only humanitarian aid route, as international experts warned famine was imminent, and as analysts warned the true death toll in Gaza could ultimately be close to 200,000, probably more than that. For me personally, the combination of this and the continued destruction of Gaza made the turn from harsh criticism of the crimes Israel is committing in Gaza and warnings that we are getting close to that place, to the perception that the cumulative effect of what Israel is doing in Gaza is genocidal in every sense, said Liederman on the social media Twitter platforms. I think the second half of 2024 is the point at which a consensus emerged among genocide researchers as well as the human rights community that this was genocide. Those who may still have doubts, I estimate that they have dissipated following Israel's actions since the ceasefire was broken. Since March, when Israel reimposed a total blockade on humanitarian aid and broke a temporary ceasefire, nearly 3,000 Palestinians have been killed in bombings, and nearly 250,000 people are now facing extreme deprivation of food, according to the Integrated Food Security Phase classification. Melanie O'Brien, president of the International Association of Genocide Scholars, told NRC that Israel's deliberate blockade on food, water, shelter, and sanitation convinced her the Netanyahu government was carrying out a genocide, while Siegel pointed to openly genocidal statements by Israeli leaders. Yeah, they're not hiding it. They're not hiding it at all. And still people are like, well, I don't know if it's a genocide or not. You know, I'm just kind of on the fence. No, fucker, it's a goddamn genocide. Jesus Christ. But for all, it is about the sum of what would apply separately as ordinary war crimes, NRC reported. Ordinary, in quotes. The picture as a whole makes it a genocide. This is how the term is meant, says British professor Martin Shaw. Holistic. Apart from social debate, genocide is also the subject of science, reads the article. In that field of research, genocide studies does not see it as a yes-no question, but as a process. Not a light switch, but a dimmer, in the words of Professor of Holocaust and Genocide Studies, Umit Unger. I'm going to just call him Triple U. NRC noted that the Western media and political debates have been consumed with misunderstandings and simplifications. Yeah, well, simplifications, because they don't want you to think there's a genocide going on. No, this is self-defense. Every one of those fuckers is Hamas. Even the little kids, they put bullets in their head. They're Hamas too. Those who continue defending Israel's actions insist that it is a military war to destroy Hamas. There is no clear eradication plan. Not all Gazans have been killed. It does not look like the Holocaust. The judge has not yet ruled. As historian Rutger Bregman said on the tweeters yesterday, the scholars' interviews by NRC make clear. Genocide is a process. It's not a binary switch, and it's not about matching the Holocaust. Siegel, who is Jewish, told NRC that he is regularly accused of anti-Semitism for speaking out against Israel. I know a lot of Jews who are you're anti-Semitic for talking about your own people. A German authority in the field that wants to remain anonymous calls the subject poisoned in his country, reported NRC. You are, he says, called directly anti-Semitic if you mention possible genocide. If these acts are subjected to a country older than Israel, he says, all Germans would immediately sound the alarm and speak of genocidal violence, as happened with the Russian massacre in the Ukrainian city of Batska, but now he says it remains silent. Dirk Moses, editor-in-chief of the Journal of Genocide Research, said that portions of the field of research are in crisis if experts don't combat the artificial distinction between genocide and military targets and continue to defend Israel's actions. Then parts of the field of research are actually dead, he said, not only conceptually incoherent, but complicit. I don't know about you. I'm no military expert. CJK, what's up? Kittens? What? Kitty? Good to see you. I don't know, man. If you're targeting civilians 80% of the time, yeah, that's fucking genocide, y'all. Oh, Tulsi, you sweet lady with the gray streak in your hair, what has become of you? That's why you shouldn't have heroes, folks. Or at least don't meet them. Gabbard fires intel officials after memo counters Trump lies about migrants sent to El Salvador prison. A little back-to-back common dreams here. Tulsi Gabbard, U.S. President Donald Trump's controversial director of national intelligence, she's controversial, y'all, is generating alarm this week for firing two top officials after a memo contradicting the administration's claims about deported migrants was made public. Womp womp, W-U-M-P. As Fox News first reported Tuesday, Gabbard fired Mike Collins, acting chair of the National Intelligence Council, and his deputy, Maria Langen-Reichoff, and moved the NIC from the Central Intelligence Agency to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. As The Hill detailed, Collins has spent nearly 3 decades in the intelligence community and has served as chief of staff for the CIA's deputy director. He started his career as an analyst focused on East Asia. Langen-Reichoff also has more than 30 years of experience in the intelligence community, including as an expert on the Middle East. The ODNI previously listed her as an exceptional analyst. She also previously served as director of the Strategic Futures Group at the National Intelligence Council. While an ODNI spokesperson told The Hill that the director is working alongside President Trump to end the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community. Critics framed the firings as the definition of politicizing intelligence. I'm concerned about the apparent removal of senior leadership at the National Intelligence Council without any explanation except vague accusations made in the media. Congressman Jim Himes, Democrat out of Connecticut, the ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee, told the Washington Post. Absent evidence to justify the firings, the workforce can only conclude that their jobs are contingent on producing analysis that is aligned with the president's agenda rather than truthful and apolitical. Evidence? Who wants evidence? That's nutty shit. The NIC leaders were fired after last week's release of an NIC memo confirming that U.S. intelligence agencies never agreed with Trump's claim that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro controls the criminal gang Tren de Aragua. The April 7th document states that while Venezuela's permissive environment enables TDA to operate, the Maduro regime probably does not have a policy of cooperating with TDA and is not directing TDA movement to and operations in the United States. Although, as the Post noted, it was unclear what, if any, direct role Collins or Langen-Rykov had in drafting the assessment, its release provoked pushback from Gabbard, who said last week it was outrageous that as President Trump and his administration work hard every day to make America safe by deporting these violent criminals, some in the media remain intent on twisting and manipulating intelligence assessments to undermine the president's agenda to keep the American people safe. Blah, 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 blah. Shut the fuck up. Trump has used dubious claims about Maduro controlling the gang to justify invoking the Alien Enemies Act to send hundreds of Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador's notorious terrorism confinement center as part of his mass deportation agenda. Senate Intelligence Committee Vice Chair Mark Warner, Democrat out of Virginia, said on social media Wednesday, Gabbard is purging intelligence officials over a report that the Trump administration finds politically inconvenient. Whatever the administration is trying to protect, it's not our national security. Of course, Trump always protects Trump, y'all. Yeah, the ones who, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, I'm sorry, but that's true. Other critics called Gabbard's moves ominous and warned that an intelligence service will not protect you from real-life threats if its members get fired for not lying. The U.S. intelligence community provides analysis independent of policy preferences, said James Madison University professor and former CIA analyst Stephen Marin. When those in power do not want to hear inconvenient facts and unwanted interpretation and punish messengers that provide it, that undermines the reason the intelligence community was created in the first place. Yeah, Lucy stays with a guru. Yeah, those things were wild. I hope she brings it back. Jonathan Panikoff, a former career U.S. intelligence officer who is now a director at the Atlantic Council's Middle East program, said that having spent 5 years working at the NIC, I can personally attest the organization is the heartbeat of apolitical U.S. all-source analysis, traditionally drawing the best of the ICs and analysts together to tackle and produce assessments on the hardest issues. Anything that reduces its independence because policymakers don't like the independent conclusion it reaches is the definition of politicization that they are decrying. Mike and Maria are unbelievable leaders and IC professionals, not political actors. Eric Brewer, who also worked for the NIC, expressed full agreement with Panikoff's excellent comments and issued his own warning. This is a big deal. The result will be an IC less willing to tell the president and other leaders what they need to know rather than what they want to hear. America will be less secure because of it, Brewer said. The professionals in the IC can withstand a lot and will no doubt do their utmost to continue to provide objective assessments, but this act is blatant politicization and will have a chilling effect. The memo that seemingly led to the NIC firings was revealed as a result of a Freedom of Information Act request filed by the Freedom of the Press Foundation. Lauren Harper, the group's Daniel Ellsberg chair on government secrecy, shared the post's reporting about the ousters on social media Wednesday, along with an observation. The Director of National Intelligence's FOIA website, which has reappeared after the entire site was briefly down, no longer has a reading room of released documents or links to its FOIA regulations, which, we were to be picky, violates the EFOIA amendments of 1996, Harper highlighted. Amazing timing. Now, I'm not one to be sad about somebody getting booted out of the government if they've been entrenched for decades. Because that's how you get the deep state, is all these people that have been in government for years. But in this case, this was because, an inconvenient truth, if you will. Ugh. I wish they had whiskey in it. Yeah, Lucy sent you down the rabbit hole. Yeah. And Lucy's good at that, that's for sure. I haven't seen her stream in a while. I hope she's okay. Meanwhile, Jordan says, not Michael Jordan, but the country Jordan blocks access to Middle East Eye after investigation on Gaza aid drop. So we told you about that last week, or maybe it was Tuesday. I can't remember. About Jordan getting paid mad money. Well, we'll tell you about that again. We'll remind you. Why are you asking? You can ask me. Of course, we're going live for our Saturday night date. Kate, come on. What are you saying? Jordanian authorities have blocked access to Middle East Eye's website days after it published an investigation alleging that the Hashemite kingdom had charged exorbitant fees while overseeing the delivery of international aid into Gaza. Jordan's not a great place. In the article, sources from several international aid organizations told Middle East Eye that NGOs were having to pay $2,200 for every aid truck entering Gaza, and that Jordanian authorities were charging between $200,000 and $400,000 per airdrop over Gaza, some of which fell on people and killed them. According to the sources, around $200,000 was charged for each random drop and $400,000 for targeted missions, despite each aircraft carrying the equivalent of less than half a truckload of aid. Somebody always getting a skim. A day after the report was published, the Jordan Hashemite Charity Organization, the JHCO, the official body that acts as sole conduit for aid passing through the country, said it strongly rejected Middle East Eye's reporting. The JHCO media office said the costs of the airdrops were in fact slightly higher than those stated in MEE's report, with untargeted airdrops costing $210,000 each and GPS-guided airdrops reaching up to $450,000. It's like, look, you're going to lie about me like good. She streamed on Monday, then she deleted it. Interesting. By Monday, most readers in Jordan could not access Middle East Eye's website, and several internet censorship websites reported a drastic drop in online traffic. Late on Wednesday, Jordan's Al Dustor newspaper, reported that the country's media commission had taken the decision to block several websites, including MEE, that's Middle East Eye, on charges of spreading media poison and attacking Jordan and its national symbols. A total of 12 websites were blocked, including Arabi Post, Rasif 22, and the Cairo-based Rast. MEE was not notified of the reason for the block, and Jordan's media commission did not respond to calls or emails. David Hurst, the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Middle East Eye, Hurst, as in related to William Randolph Hearst? ? Defended the article, calling it an impeccably sourced and researched story, which is of interest for any donor who contributes to the aid going to Gaza and is thus of intense public significance. The government of Jordan is doing itself no favors by blocking Middle East Eye's website and 11 other entities, he said, because the Jordanians will still get our content through social media and will keep on asking the right questions of their government. Since the October 7th attacks on southern Israel, Jordan has launched a sweeping crackdown on pro-Palestinian activism that has resulted in hundreds of people being arbitrarily detained. According to Amnesty International, Jordanian authorities have arrested at least 1,500 people, with footage from several protest sites against the war on Gaza showing police violently dispersing demonstrators with batons and tear gas. because that's what you do when you want to oppress people. Additionally, dozens of people have reportedly been charged for posting pro-Palestinian statements on social media under Jordan's controversial cybercrime law, which criminalizes any speech that may offend law enforcement officials. Boy, I bet you they'd love to have that here. Last year, Jordanian authorities sentenced journalist Hiba Abu Taha to 1 year in prison after she violated the country's cybercrime law. One of the charges related to an article she wrote in which she criticized Jordan's interception of Iranian drones and rockets that were fired at Israel in April last year. Another charge stemmed from an investigative report that alleged that Jordanian companies were transporting goods to Israel through Jordanian territory during Israel's war on Gaza. Launched in 2014, Middle East Eye has repeatedly been targeted by a number of governments, with its website restricted in countries including Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and China. China. That's very, very interesting. So, yeah, fuckery afoot. When you do good journalism, you get rewarded by being banned in a country. See, I haven't even been getting the notifications that Lucy's going live. If you don't know who Lucy is, Lucy's Blue Moon Red Wine. Be sure to check out her channel on YouTube. She has some very fascinating videos when she keeps them up. Love Lucy. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. So, now that they're steeped in it, there's really no way they can deny this. Finally, the Israeli army finally admits civilians make up 80% of those killed in Gaza since March. The Israeli military has admitted that more than 80% of the people killed in the attacks on Gaza since Israel breached the ceasefire 2 months ago are uninvolved civilians, Hamakam reported on May 13th in response to a request from the Hebrew magazine. The office of the Israeli military spokesperson stated that 500 of the 2,780 killed in the Gaza Strip as of Tuesday are terrorists. In contrast, the remaining 2,280 people killed by Israeli forces were not suspected terrorists. This is the No-Duh article right here. The data shows that approximately 4.5 civilians were killed for every Palestinian resistance fighter supposedly killed by the Israeli forces. For comparison, the ratio of combatants to civilians killed in the Russia-Ukraine war is 1 to 2.8, while the ratio during the U.S. war against ISIS in Syria was 1 to 2.5. Hamakam wrote that the total number of deaths in Gaza was taken from data compiled by the Palestinian Ministry of Health, whose figures were found credible by the Israeli military itself. Who's Lucy? Yeah, just look for Blue Moon Red Wine on, let's see. Let me just do this. Blue. Sorry. Yeah. She's on she's on YouTube, so Prime Minister Shithead has claimed that the ratio is just 1 civilian killed for each combatant killed. Wow. However, many estimates of the death toll in the Strip are much higher than the number documented by the health ministry. According to the Euromed monitor, for every Palestinian resistance fighter killed, 14 civilians have been killed, many of them women and children. Even in comparison with previous campaigns waged by Israel, including those in the Gaza Strip, it appears that the ratio of civilians to combatants killed has soared in the current war. For example, in Israel's Operation Protective Edge in 2014, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs estimated that for every Hamas fighter killed, about 3 non-involved people were killed. When journalists from Hamakan asked the Israeli military for the total number of fatalities, they were told that the army was not monitoring the matter. Throughout the war, the military has only published the number of terrorists killed, even though it admits that it has no way of knowing or estimating their number because everyone's Hamas. Everyone's Hamas. Yeah. So the Israeli military spokesman's announcements of the number of Palestinian resistance fighters killed are intended to undermine the credibility of the data published by the Gaza Health Ministry. Hamakam added, even though army officials have stated They are the official figures on which the military relies. In practice, the Army's publications on the matter of fatalities in the Gaza Strip are often blatant lies for propaganda purposes. He said the thing, the magazine concluded. When the Israeli military attacked Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis to assassinate Palestinian journalist Hassan Asli, it claimed that steps were taken to reduce the chance of harming civilians, including the use of precision weapons, aerial observations, and additional intelligence information. However, an investigation conducted by Hamakam found that 31 people were killed in the attack. Since the start of the war, Israeli forces have killed over 53,000 people and wounded 120,000 in unofficial. Those are the official death tolls, and wounded. But of course, we know it's much, much more, as more are missing and presumed to be dead. Since March 18th, at least 2,780 have been killed, 7,680 injured, and as we said, 80% of those civilians. They don't care. They don't care if you're a civilian. They say it for the press so they don't look bad, but they're making themselves look worse and worse and worse and worse. And there's no way of digging out of this hole except just leave them in the hole and just cover the hole up. So we were telling you about the Gaza hospital that was destroyed. Well, it turns out Israeli army gave misleading information about tunnel under Gaza hospital after bombing. What? I can't believe Israel would lie like that. The Israeli army provided misleading information about an alleged Hamas tunnel under the European hospital located in Khan Yunis after heavily bombing it twice within 24 hours, Israeli media reported on Thursday. Aerial footage released by the army purportedly shows a tunnel located at the nearby Jenin school in southern Gaza Strip city and not beneath or near a hospital as the army originally claimed. The footage was released by the Israeli army on Tuesday, hours after strikes on the hospital under the title The European Hospital. In the video, a building is shown with markings around it signing to what the army described as exposed underground infrastructure. A message on the footage read, "The IDF and Shin Bet security service destroyed a Hamas underground terror infrastructure located beneath the European Hospital in Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip." Israeli forces killed at least 16 Palestinians and wounded 70 more on Tuesday after violent airstrikes targeted the enclave's European hospital, the Ministry of Health reported. At least 9 Israeli missiles struck the hospital. 9 missiles striking a hospital, various reports said. 6 craters from the fierce strikes were seen inside and outside the hospital grounds, including at the entrance to the emergency room and the main road, which gives access to the hospital. Analysis of the footage by Haaretz revealed. The army, in a joint statement with the Israeli General Security Service, said the airstrikes targeted a command and control complex established within Hamas infrastructure beneath the European hospital, and that the operation was a precise attack against Hamas operatives. On Wednesday, Israeli media reported that the attack was part of an assassination attempt on Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar. Over 65 Palestinians were killed across Gaza on Wednesday morning alone, with large-scale damage done to the European hospital and no confirmation on the success of the operation to kill Sinwar. Hamas, in response, said the occupation's claims of the presence of military bases in the vicinity of the hospital are lies and attempts to mislead world public opinion. According to Haaretz, the Israeli army is yet to clarify whether the school shown in aerial footage was also targeted. The Israeli Army spokesperson's unit alleged that the tunnel extended beneath the hospital to an adjacent area without providing any evidence to corroborate the claim. This is a common thing. Without providing any evidence to corroborate the claim. An Israeli security source also said that inaccurate and incorrect footage of the alleged tunnel had been shared with the Israeli army. Since the start of the war on Gaza, Israel has repeatedly targeted hospitals and medical centers despite international condemnation and the violation of human rights and international laws. America will just sanction them. Earlier this month, Gaza's government media office said that Israel's war on the enclave has destroyed, burned, or put out of service 38 hospitals, 81 health centers, and 100 and 81 health centers and 164 health centers. That would be 245 health centers. Israeli forces also heavily bombed the Nasser medical complex in Khan Yunis this week, with Hamas immediately denouncing the attack and targeting of patients and medical staff. Last year, an investigation carried out by Forensic Architecture disputed Israeli claims made following their attack on the Al-Ali Al-Arab hospital in October 2023, which killed over 300 Palestinians. The investigation revealed that the rocket was shown exploding was caused by an Israeli interceptor rather than by Hamas rocket salvo. The Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City has also been besieged and was bombarded several times since the start of the war. In November 2023, an Israeli airstrike hit ambulances around the hospital's main entrance, killing and wounding 21 people, according to Human Rights Watch. The ambulances were evacuating wounded people to Rafah in southern Gaza. In April last year, another brutal siege of the hospital devastated the building. According to the Israeli army, some 900 people were detained on the grounds of Al-Shifa Hospital during the siege, which lasted from March 18th to April 1st. The army claimed that 500 alleged terror operatives from Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad were among those captures. According to Euromed Human Rights Monitor, over 1,500 Palestinians were either killed, wounded, or are missing because of the operation, including 22 patients who were killed in their hospital beds. Yeah. So, again, Israel caught lying, using using misinformation. Oh, yeah. Lucy's great, Ghost Art. You'll love her. How do you know when an Israeli is lying? When they open their mouth. Show yourself out. Nope. Fair point. We have a huge, this is a long propaganda watch, because we have a lot of propaganda that we have to deal with. Sorry about that. Meanwhile, we talked about UK fuckery. Well, you know, they like to get in on the censorship too, y'all. UK blocks Labour MP from asking about Israeli bombers using British airbase. For months, parliamentarians have questioned the British government about the role of a Royal Air Force military airbase on the island of Cyprus, just a 40-minute flight away from Tel Aviv. From there, RAF Shadow aircraft have conducted regular surveillance flights over Gaza through Israel's war on the besieged enclave. In response to questions about these flights, the Ministry of Defense has insisted they are in support of hostage rescue. Hostage rescue. Dun, dun, dun. Over the past few months, MPs have asked the Armed Forces Minister, Luke Pollard, several questions about the airbase on the former British colony. They were all answered. Until this week, when Labour MP Kim Johnson tabled a question on Israel's use of the airbase. What assessment has the minister made of the potential conflict of the Israeli government access to the use of RAF Akrotiri Air Base in Cyprus for military operations, she asked. On Tuesday, she was given the following message. The government has blocked questions on the use of military bases. Dun, dun, dun. You shut your pie hole. You're a lying pirate hooker. The next day in the House of Commons, Johnson raised a point of order. She noted that 6 recent questions about the activities of RAF Akrotiri were all answered. Under this new ruling, all would have been ruled out of order and automatically blocked, yet they were allowed to be tabled, Johnson told the Deputy Speaker, Judith Cummins. Cummins responded that the Armed Forces Minister had previously said the government would not comment on any foreign nation's military aircraft movement within UK airspace or on UK overseas bases. She added, it's not the table office but the government that have blocked the questions on the specific subject. This clarified that it is specifically questions on foreign nations' activity, in this case Israel, on the airbase which the government has blocked. MEE has asked for the Ministry of Defense for comment. There have previously been reports of Israeli fighter jets using the Akrotiri base. In February last year, British officials asked Israel not to land its F-35 jets for technical assistance at the airbase. A previously long-standing arrangement until the war in Gaza is over. Another arrangement allowing Israeli helicopters to carry out exercises on the base was also reportedly scrapped. No details, including on whether and how many Israeli jets used the airbase during the war, have been divulged. There is also evidence that military cargo has been airlifted from Akrotiri to Israel during its war on Gaza. This cargo has often traveled to Cyprus from U.S. military bases in other parts of Europe. Johnson told Middle East Eye, "I'm deeply concerned that such an operational decision will now prevent vital scrutiny and oversight by Parliament on military bases. It should be for the minister to decide whether or not a question is too sensitive to provide an answer and what details may or may not be shared. For such a decision to be taken operationally prevents scrutiny and vital debate, particularly for issues as sensitive as this." You want to be a lying pirate hooker? I know, right? What was that from? Was that from, it was from the movie with Will Ferrell. You're a lying pirate hooker. Johnson added, "It's been reported that RAF Akrotiri has been used as a base for Israeli bombers and has played an operational role for British intelligence that has been used by the Israelis since their invasion of Gaza. Parliamentarians must be allowed to scrutinize." She asked, "What does this government have to hide?" In March, the family of a British aid worker killed by an Israeli drone strike in Gaza slammed the British government for refusing to release information about the attack gathered by an RAF spy plane. James Kirby, a 47-year-old former British Army rifleman, was working in Gaza for the World Central Kitchen when he was killed last April in an Israeli targeted attack on a 3-car aid convoy. He died alongside several others, including 2 other British veterans. The UK's Ministry of Defense told The Times it had footage from an RAF spy plane that was flying over Gaza trying to locate Israeli captives on the day of the strike. The MOD refused to disclose the footage, citing national security and defense exception. National security. That same month in Parliament's Westminster Hall, MPs grilled the Armed Forces Minister during a rare debate secured by independent MP Shokat Adam on military cooperation with Israel. In 1 year alone, from December 2023 to November of last year, the UK conducted 645 surveillance and recon missions, which amounts to almost 2 flights a day, Adams said during the debate. "We've been told that those flights were for surveillance and hostage rescue, but if that's the case, we must ask why we used RAF Atlas C-1 aircraft, which are large enough to transport military vehicles and helicopters." So you're using these fat daddy planes for surveillance? Yeah, our surveillance planes didn't work, so we had to use these fat daddies. Pollard responded by saying that the UK shares an important, long-standing, and broad strategic partnership with the State of Israel and praised the RAF's role in defending Israel against an Iranian missile and drone attack last April. He insisted that surveillance flights over Gaza are solely in support of hostage rescue. That information is passed on only if we are satisfied that it will be used in accordance with international humanitarian law, which basically means only if it makes us look good. Pollard added, "For operational security reasons and as a matter of long-standing policy, the Ministry of Defense does not confirm, deny, or comment on any foreign national military aircraft movement or operation within UK airspace or on UK overseas bases." This jackass right here, fucking Keir Starmer. Yeah, so lies begat lies. Why won't they talk? Why won't they say? I think this lady has she has a fair point there. And how many we got left? We got a few more. This is a weird one. So a guest house in Japan is under fire for asking Israeli guests about war crimes. Oops. Yes, I think you'll love Japan. Are you? By the way, are you down with genocide? A guest house in Japan says it's under pressure from local authorities to change a policy asking guests to declare that they have never committed war crimes following complaints by Israel's ambassador. Israeli Ambassador Gilad Cohen has accused the Wind Villa guest house in Kyoto of discrimination following an incident in April in which an Israeli tourist was asked to sign a pledge stating he had never been involved in any war crimes that violate humanitarian and international law. I mean, if you haven't, what you got to worry about, right? Wink. In a Twitter post over the weekend, Cohen described the request as a blatant act of discrimination against Israeli citizens and an unacceptable attempt to equate them with war criminals. So I'm looking at here. It doesn't mention Israel. It says a tourist was asked to sign a pledge stating he had never been involved in any war crimes that violate. That's pretty generic. To him to infer about Israel, discrimination of Israeli citizens, it's a little bit of projection right there, folks. You use your dresser as a guest house for small Japanese visitors, Bella. Make that money. Make it rain, baby. I call on the Kyoto city authorities to address this case swiftly, Cohen said. We trust that the Japanese authorities will continue to uphold the values of hospitality and respect that Japan is so well known for and ensure all visitors feel welcome and safe. Safe? Fuck this guy. Wind Villa owner Ace Kishi, that's a great name, said in an interview that he has no plans to change the policy following an investigation by Kyoto city authorities and a rebuke from the Israeli envoy. Kishi said he began asking guests to sign the pledge about 6 months ago in response to world events. I was really concerned about the Russian invasion of Ukraine and Israeli attacks on Gaza, Kishi told Al Jazeera. I just wanted to take some measures for our safety and for guest safety as well, and to express our disagreement with war crimes and international violations. He didn't want to expose his other guests, to war criminals. I mean, come on. Kishi said only 4 people have signed the pledge so far, 3 Israelis and 1 Russian. The Israeli tourist in April was the first to take issue with the request, he said, although some guests were surprised by the document. Well, yeah, you go to a B&B and, you get out of New Orleans, you want to go to Mardi Gras, the last thing you want to do is sign a date. Hey, just checking here. You do any war crimes? No? All right, come on in. Mostly, they have had no objection. They're just a little confused. The last one was quite confused and upset, but eventually he signed and said he hadn't committed any war crimes. I mean, it's not like they're going to check Interpol or anything. Get him a nice, safe cell. In an account of his interaction with the Israeli tourist posted on Twitter last month, Kishi described the man as an otherwise pleasant guest and admitted to feeling a little sorry for him. The pledge thing made us pretty awkward, but he still greeted me every time we met, Kishi wrote. He even held the door open for me while I was carrying my luggage, but he believed that what Israel was doing was absolutely right and thought I was brainwashed for criticizing. More projection when they say you're brainwashed. No, my friend, it is you who is brainwashed. This was their tweet. Given the number of troops deployed in Gaza, the number of casualties there, and the number of Israeli travelers abroad, it's statistically undeniable that those who have committed war crimes are walking freely in major cities and tourist destinations in the world. I don't see the lie there. The Israeli tourist, who has not been named, shared a similar version of events with an Israeli news outlet following his trip to Kyoto, although the Israeli report suggested the pledge was a condition for check-in. In the end, I decided to sign it because I have nothing to hide, the guest was quoted as telling Ynet News, which said the tourist had served as a combat medic in the Navy Reserves. The statement is true. I did not commit any war crimes, and Israeli soldiers do not commit war crimes. Well, that's not true. I signed because I didn't want to create problems because this form means nothing, he was quoted as saying. That's funny. It just seems like this kind of thing is a trap for war criminals. Like, if you're not a war criminal, you're like, oh, that's a little weird, but all right. I'm not a war criminal. But I'm outraged by this. I take offense to this. Following complaints from Cohen and the Israeli embassy, Kyoto tourism authorities visited the guest house several times to carry out an investigation, Kishi said. At least the authorities, both from the city and the Japanese government, don't think it's a violation of the Hotel Act. The Kramer uses dresser for beds. I remember that too. He had the Merv Griffin set in his apartment too. At least the authorities, both of them, say, government don't think it's a violation of the Hotel Act, Kishi said, referring to the Japanese law governing public accommodations. They're just expressing their concerns and trying to convince us to change our measures, but it's beyond their authority, so it's very indirect. Why would they express concerns if you're asking people if they're war criminals? That goes against our policy here at Starbucks. We have one of those that coming up soon about Starbucks too. Kishi said he has tweaked the wording of the pledge to state that it would not affect guests' eligibility to stay at Wind Villa to avoid further incidents. He also clarified in a public letter to Cohen that the pledge requires all guests whom our guest house identifies as potentially having been involved in war crimes to sign the form, including those from Burundi, the Central African Republic, Ethiopia, Mali, Myanmar, Palestine, Russia, Syria, and Sudan. Booking.com has suspended Wind Villa's account since the April incident, although the Israeli guest used rival site Expedia.com to book his stay, according to Kishi. Wind Villa's other accounts on booking sites, including Expedia.com, continue to operate as normal. So it's, who is this? Booking. Who the fuck's using Booking.com anyway? Don't use Booking.com. If you don't have to, unless you're going to save like a shit ton of money, then do it for yourself, but fuck them. The Kyoto government and Israel's embassy in Tokyo did not reply to Al Jazeera's request for comment. The Japan Times quoted a city official as saying Wind Villa had not violated Japanese law, but the pledge was inappropriate. Booking.com told Al Jazeera that the company's mission is to make it easier for everyone to experience the world. We do not tolerate discrimination of any kind, even discrimination against war criminals, right? Even war criminals are people too, y'all. Come on. The hell's wrong with you? You killed people? Yes, but they were all bad. Get to the chopper. We have temporarily suspended this property so we can investigate the matter further. Fuck off. Booking.com is probably owned by Zionists anyway. The Wind Villa incident follows a similar occurrence in Kyoto last year when a local hotel refused an Israeli man accommodation over his potential ties to Israel's actions in Gaza. The Kyoto hotel in question received verbal and written warnings from the city that it had acted illegally, according to Japan's Kyoto News. Wow. So I guess you have to let war criminals stay in Japan? Well, okay. Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa told local media at the time that it was unacceptable for any hotel to refuse accommodation because of a guest's nationality. Well, it's not nationality, it's the shit they did in that nation. We hope all visitors to Japan will be able to engage in various activities in Japan, feeling secure. Even war crimes. Come to Japan. Commit all your war crimes here. Beautiful ocean vistas. Ooh, hello. What the hell? I thought I told you. Hang on just a second. I have to do something here real quick. Otherwise, all right. I thought I did that. All right. Yeah. So come to Japan. Bring your war criminals. They're welcome. So fucked up. This kind of pissed me off because I'm kind of a fan of Jimmy Carr and his comedy. And this is just very sad news. And I'm gonna butcher these names too. So Kemi Badnock, Nigel Farage, and Jimmy Carr attend secret Israeli party at the British Museum. This is a fun one. On Tuesday, staff at the British Museum were reportedly told that there would be a large corporate event that evening. They said they were asked to leave work early. That evening, British ministers and prominent politicians were seen arriving at the country's largest museum. So was Jimmy Carr, one of Britain's most prominent television personalities. He's the comedian that likes to invite hecklers to join his act. The event, which had not been advertised, was no corporate affair. This clandestine party had been organized by the Israeli embassy to celebrate the anniversary of Israel's 77th Independence Day. Word of the event had been... I wonder why Israel doesn't call it the Nakba. Yeah, I know, right? It's just... One of my friends used Booking.com to save money while attending a program for her job. She requested near the conference center. The booking put her at the next town over. Well, nice to know that they're shitty service provider too. The word of the event had been leaked, and pro-Palestine protesters arrived outside the museum gates. Why didn't they tell everybody they was doing this, right? If everybody loves them. Where they were greeted by the Metropolitan Police, who pinned them into a side street. Inside the museum, the labor ministers in attendance could listen to entertainment by the host, Carr, while rubbing shoulders with prominent opposition politicians who had been invited to the exclusive bash. Among them was Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK, which polls regularly indicate is the most popular party in the country. Reform UK. Also seen was Kemi Badenoch, leader of the Conservative Party. It was quite a statement for those British politicians to attend an event at which the keynote speech was given by Israeli ambassador Zippy Hotovely, who once called the Nakba an Arab lie and is an avowed opponent of the creation of a Palestinian state. More so, given that it has been less than a week since Israel's security cabinet approved a plan to capture Gaza and hold its territory, and Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich vowed that Gaza would be entirely destroyed. Moreover, earlier on Tuesday, the British government was in court facing a legal challenge over its decision to allow the export of F-35 parts to a global pool. We told you about that story. Hotovely is herself no stranger to controversy. She takes an interventionist approach to British politics. In recent months, for example, the ambassador issued an official complaint to the BBC over a documentary it aired on children in Gaza because the child's narrator was the son of a minister in Gaza. The film was ultimately pulled. She also launched an unexpected attack on the mayor of London over his annual Eid al-Fitr message. The Israeli embassy accused him of spouting Hamas propaganda for talking about suffering in Gaza. Sadiq Khan's office responded accurately that he has repeatedly condemned Hamas. I condemn Hamas. Idiots. Israel knows how to party, wrote journalist Johnny Gould in the caption of a photo he posted of himself in the museum posing with a delighted-looking Farage. The walls inside the institution, which is publicly funded, were lit up in blue and white, the colors of the Israeli flag, and the Israeli national anthem was played. There you go, UK, your tax dollars at work. The party was imbued with a serious air when Britain's Minister for Defense, Procurement and Industry, Maria Eagle, took to the stage to give a speech. She boasted about the regular Royal Air Force spy planes that have been flying over Gaza on reconnaissance missions and of Britain's help in defending Israel from Iranian attacks. The UK stood with Israel, with the RAF conducting surveillance flights over the eastern Mediterranean in support of hostage rescue efforts. Eagle told a rowdy crowd, we stood with Israel when Iran launched its reckless coordinated missile and drone attacks with RAF aircraft intercepting a number of them. She said, it's been hard over the last couple of years to see Israel going through some of the most difficult... What the fuck? What the fuck? She said, it's been hard over the last couple of years to see Israel going through some of the most difficult times in its history. In its history. I mean, like the Jews, the Egyptians, the parting the Red Sea. You don't remember that? Slavery. That's probably a little bit worse than not being able to go to Starbucks or whatever. But it was unclear how much of the speech the crowd heard. At one point, a guest walked onto the stage and took the microphone from Eagle. She's speaking. I know we're Israeli. I know we don't like listening for long, she told the partygoers, but please give her 5 more minutes. It's really embarrassing. Eagle took it in her stride. I'm a politician. I expect people to speak over me. You just carry on regardless, she said. Well, you don't listen to people. You just keep on talking. Yeah, that's a typical politician. That's for sure. The minister called for a deal that brings a stop to the fighting, enables the release of all hostages, gets the aid flowing, and establishes a political horizon with a credible and irreversible path for peace. It's unlikely that Hatovli approved of this sentiment. Her own keynote speech focused on emphasizing the threat of Iran, the most dangerous states actor in the world today, and the need to dismantle its nuclear enrichment program. Stephen Crabb, a former Tory minister, was seen at the event. So was Lord Ian Austin, Britain's trade envoy to Israel. Middle East Eye spoke to Energy Embargo for Palestine, which described itself as an anti-imperialist climate organization and organized the protest outside the museum. It's not lost on us that Maria Eagle's speech in the British Museum comes on the same day that the UK government was brought to court by legal groups Glan and Al Haq, an EEFP spokesperson said. The spokesperson added that EEFP has exposed the true face of the British Museum, which represents as a progressive institution, and that British Museum staff members were lied to. MEE has asked the British Museum for comment. I'm pretty sure they said, bollocks to you, or whatever they say in England. I don't know if they say bollocks. They might. So this one's fun. Court rules on von der Leyen's secret COVID vaccine deal messages. What? I'm crazy. The European Commission wrongly denied the media access to secret text messages between its president, Ursula von der Leyen, and the CEO of pharma giant Pfizer, exchanged during negotiations of a multi-billion-dollar COVID-19 vaccine deal, the Court of Justice of the European Union ruled on Wednesday. The so-called Pfizergate case centers on a 2021 interview von der Leyen gave to the New York Times in which she claimed she had been negotiating a deal for 900 million COVID vaccine shots with Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla via SMS or text messages. The New York Times subsequently filed an access request for the messages, to which the EC claimed the texts, which have never been released, were not in its possession. The court ruled that the EC cannot merely state that it does not hold the requested documents, but must provide credible explanations, enabling the public and the court to understand why those documents cannot be found. Kind of like the $2 trillion that was missing from the Pentagon right before 9/11. Oops. It also criticized the commissioner for failing to justify why the texts were not retained and to clarify how they were deleted. In response, the EC said it recognized the need for greater transparency and promised to issue a new decision with more detailed reasoning. It did not, however, commit to releasing the messages in question. The ruling can be appealed to the European Court of Justice. A similar CJEU judgment last July found that the EC lacked transparency in how it negotiated vaccine contracts with Pfizer and AstraZeneca. The deals, signed in 2020 and 2021 and worth approximately 2.7 billion pounds, that's 300 billion smackers here in the U.S., were shielded from disclosure to European Parliament members on the grounds of protecting commercial interests. Von der Leyen, why won't you release your texts? Release your texts for me. And finally, is this finally? Yeah. This is kind of stupid, but I had to add this in here too. So South Korea, Starbucks in a froth over presidential candidates' names. So this is a form of censorship, but in a weird sort of way. Starbucks in South Korea has banned customers from using the names of the country's presidential candidates or the disgraced ex-president for their orders, the coffee giant told AFP on Wednesday. South Korea is holding snap presidential elections on June 3rd to decide who will replace impeached former President Yoon Suk-yeol, not Suck, ousted last month for his disastrous attempt to impose martial law in December. In South Korea, Starbucks stores run a Call My Name service, which allows customers to select a nickname, which they input via the Starbucks app that baristas use to announce orders when complete. It's been several years since I've been to Starbucks, but I always used to go by Hey, would you blow me? And that's why I'm not welcome back. Customers will not be able to use the names of all 7 presidential candidates, including frontrunner Lee Jae-myung and main conservative rival Kim Moon-soo, until after the vote, the company says. Starbucks said that they had taken the action, which was announced this week as official campaigning started, based on past experience of customers misusing the Call My Name feature during previous elections. The feature is a unique Starbucks service designed to build a sense of connection between store staff and customers, the company said in a statement. We do not take any religious or political stance, and we actively monitor and restrict the use of negative language, profanity, sexually explicit content, or any expressions that may be difficult or inappropriate for our staff to call out. Hence the "Hey, would you blow me" ban. The company is also banning customers from using the name of ex-President Yoon, who has been stripped of office and is facing an ongoing criminal trial on insurrection grounds. South Korea's upcoming election comes as experts flag growing concerns over increasing political polarization and division. Yoon's martial law, which he claimed was necessary to break legislative gridlock and root out pro-North Korea anti-state forces, garnered support from extreme religious figures and right-wing YouTubers. Pro-Yoon rallies turned violent in January when extremist supporters, angered by the court's approval of his formal arrest warrant, stormed a Seoul courthouse. 2 of them were handed jail terms Wednesday. New Jersey transit workers are on strike. Good. Yoon's Conservative People Power Party has not yet expelled him, and its official candidate, Kim Moon-soo, has drawn public attention as the only cabinet member who refused to bow in apology for failing to prevent Yoon's attempted suspension of civilian rule. The Democratic Party's Lee is currently facing multiple criminal trials, and since no South Korean president has ever taken office while under indictment, unlike the United States, this has fueled widespread legal and political uncertainty. I'm sure it has. Starbucks getting in the mix, right? No IP freely, no Seymour Butts or Seymour Heine. No, hey, would you blow me? No, Dickens cider. Remember that Dickens cider? What is Dickens cider? Probably not. It's not very memorable. So that's it for our propaganda watch. Hope you're fully aware that bullshit is everywhere, but I think you already knew that before this show. Probably knew that a long time ago, which is fine and dandy. We got good stuff coming up for you today. I believe Kevin is going to be having Black Bear News for us this afternoon. I think it's 3 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, and he's on X too, the tweeters. So if you want to catch him live, and if you want to donate to his GoFundMe, the link is down below. He lost his house in the LA fires not long ago, and he could use your help. Yes, jack me off. Oh, to be 13 again and be using such wonderful language. So be sure to support Kevin and check out his show too. Also coming up tomorrow night, this motherfucker, what the hell? It's a secret show. We do it here at midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. It's written right there. Why I was having trouble trying to find the time, and it's written right there. So come with us. We do some dumb shit. We watch some silly videos, but we try to entertain you and educate you at the same time. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. Barry McCockiner. I've never heard that one. I've heard of Holden McGroin. That's a good one, but it's better to see it than to hear it, because you're like, Holden McGroin, what the hell? So check out all this stuff this weekend coming up for you. Secret show should be fun. It usually is. I know, right? SATURDAY, night. That's what it's all about. Oh, you're going to see John Anderson and the Band Geeks tonight, Bella. That's right. Very good. Pastor pussy. All right, stop it. Hey, that's enough. That's crazy tough. Finally today, folks, we got a new pope. We got that pope. Well, he has ties to Peru, right? So Peru hopes a local miracle gets recognition under the new pope. Come meet the new pope. Dun, dun, dun. Same as the old pope. Dun, dun, dun. In the small Peruvian town of Eaton, the faithful flock every year to celebrate an apparent 17th century miracle featuring images of the child Jesus, a sacred phenomenon not yet recognized by the Vatican. But the recent election of Pope Bob the 14th, who for years served as a missionary in Peru, has rekindled hopes of official recognition and a shrine worthy of the Eucharistic miracle, the only one of its kind reported in the Andean country. Robert Prevost, a.k.a. Pope Bob, who became the first U.S.-born pontiff last week, spent more than 2 decades in Peru. From 2015 to 2023, he was bishop of the Diocese of Chiclayo, a city 15 kilometers, about 9 miles east of Eaton on the northern coast. With this pope, who lived here in Chiclayo, and who knows the subject well, they'll soon recognize us as a Eucharistic city, said optimistic Catalino Puican. In the main room of the 93-year-old's single-story Eaton house, an entire wall serves as an altar, as in many homes in the town of 14,000. Statuettes of the Virgin Mary, candles, rosaries. I wonder if they get the Jesus candles too, like you get at the dollar store. Rosaries and portraits of the deceased bear witness to the local religious fervor. It was in an ancient village founded near this site by the Spanish in the 16th century, a few hundred meters from the windswept dunes, that the so-called Eucharistic miracle of Eaton is said to have taken place. On June 6, 1649, an image of a young Jesus and 3 small hearts is believed to have appeared to dozens of faithful during a Eucharist, a Catholic ceremony in which bread and wine representing the body and blood of Christ are consecrated. Well, unless you're Southern Baptist and you don't want actual wine in your church, then you use Ritz crackers and grape juice, preferably Welch's. A second image is said to have appeared weeks later during another religious festival. The events inspired a passionate local devotion that continues to this day. Locals believe official recognition of the miracle could attract more devotees. A small shrine now welcomes pilgrims to the ancient town, where a few ruins mark the site. Every week, people arrive with testimonies about miracles that they have received, whether it's healing of illnesses or curing infertility, said Eduardo Zarpen, a 26-year-old guide to the area. Anxious to provide the site a more holy dimension, in 2019, Leo XIV, then bishop of the diocese, began the process of formally recognizing what locals believed occurred centuries ago. Spirit of the Age, what's up? Good to see you, buddy. Kitty litter. The Eucharistic miracle is a gift for all Peru, Prevost stated in 2022. Building this new shrine is a task for all of us. It's a dream we want to make come true. Veronique Lecaros, head of the theology department at Peru's Pontifical Catholic University, noted that the process is a long one, as it involves an investigation into how the miracle happened. Its recognition ultimately would bring great pride to the people and recognition of their faith, as well as tourism and money. There we go. Tourism and money. We want this. They want the Dollywood of Peru. I think somebody's been having a little bit too much of the ayahuasca down there. In the town's modest St. Mary Magdalene Church, 72-year-old Blanca Chancafe prayed facing a statue representing the apparition of the child Jesus. Wearing a traditional head covering, Christ is depicted at the center of rays evoking the sun, a venerated divinity of the Mochica civilization that once flourished along Peru's northern coast. Leo XIV will contribute significantly to the official recognition of the miracles, said Chancafe, a retired teacher. We expect a lot from him. Many hope a papal visit is in store. The elder Puitian is no doubt Leo will make the trip to the diocese he once led. He won't be long in coming. I hope God will allow me to meet him as Pope, said Puican, a retired merchant of straw hats and emblematic craft of the town. So yeah, miracles. I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you. Where did you come from, baby? All right, sorry. A little hot chocolate for you on a Friday. Yeah, so that's our show. Beffarino City. Oh no. Well, that's the end of the show. If you're just now tuning in, sorry. just go to the beginning of the video and you can watch it again. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Is buffering on Rumble? Yeah, I'm not surprised. But I think, we're almost done. Yeah, we're actually done. So yeah, come see us. I think Willie's got a show's coming up pretty soon. Make sure you're checking out Black Bear News. Make sure you check out all our friends here that we promote here on the show. If you'd like to donate to the show, okay. We have donation links down below. The crawl there has places where you can donate as well. If you want to become a Patreon member, you can do it for $1 a month. Get your name up at the beginning of the show. It's literally a fun time, and you support the show. If you can't do it, that's fine. If you can share out the links, tell your friends about the show. If you don't have any friends, I'm sorry. I really can't do anything about that, but maybe you should just be a better person. And, but that's between you and your maker. So I'll leave that up to you. Yeah, so otherwise, come see us tomorrow night for the secret show. And then this show will be back on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. For more Morning Extra, we'll have more sad news for you, as we usually do here. So have a great weekend, everybody. Come see us at Secret Show tomorrow night and support independent media. Not all of them. Some of them are shysters and gangsters. Just be careful who you support. Be critical thinkers. Never stop critically thinking, because we need that more now than ever before. Take it easy. We'll see you Tuesday, or we'll see you tomorrow night, depending on your flavor. Peace!
This is SETI Alpha 5! Woo!
Soon.